గొంతెత్తి పాడదాం జయ జయ హే తెలంగాణ. తెలంగాణ స్టేట్ సాంగ్, రాష్ట్ర గీతం జయ జయ హే తెలంగాణ.
జననీ జయకేతనం ముకోటి గొంతుకలు ఒక్కటైన చేతనం తరతరాల చరిత గల తల్లి నీరాజనం పదపదాన నీ పిల్లలు ప్రణమిల్లిన శుభతరుణం. జయ తెలంగాణ జయ జయ తెలంగాణ జయ తెలంగాణ జయ జయ తెలంగాణ. జీవన చావళీలు చాలువాన కవి గాయక వైతాళిక కళల మంజీరాలు జాతిని జాగృత పరచే గీతాల జనజాతర అనునిత్యం నీ గానం అమ్మ నీవే మా ప్రాణం. జయ తెలంగాణ జయ జయ తెలంగాణ జయ తెలంగాణ జయ జయ తెలంగాణ.
తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర వ్యాప్తంగా జయధ్వానాలు ప్రతిరోజు ప్రతిపూట జయధ్వానాలు అందరికీ స్ఫూర్తిని అందించాలని, తెలంగాణ కీర్తిని ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తం చేయాలని ప్రజాపాలన ప్రభుత్వం తలపెట్టిన గ్లోబల్ సమ్మిట్ ఇంత అద్భుతంగా, అర్థవంతంగా, ఆర్థికంగా, హార్దికంగా ముందుకు సాగుతున్న వేదికపైన గౌరవనీయులు ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారి సందేశం. ఆనరబుల్ సీఎంస్ మెసేజ్.
తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో వివిధ జిల్లాల కలెక్టర్ కార్యాలయాలలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహ ఆవిష్కరణ కార్యక్రమాన్ని భారత్ ఫ్యూచర్ సిటీ, తెలంగాణ రైజింగ్ గ్లోబల్ సమ్మిట్ వేదికగా ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి వర్యులు బట్టి విక్రమార్క గారు, సహచర మంత్రివర్గ సభ్యులు, పార్లమెంట్ సభ్యులు, శాసనమండలి సభ్యులు, శాసనసభ్యులు, తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో పెట్టుబడులు పెట్టిన పారిశ్రామికవేత్తల సమక్షంలో కేంద్ర రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వ అధికారుల సమక్షంలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహ ఆవిష్కరణ ఈ కార్యక్రమం జరుపుకోవడం ఎంతో సంతోషం, ఒక శుభ పరిణామం. ఇక్కడున్న మిత్రులకు, దేశ ప్రజలందరికీ తెలుసు, డిసెంబర్ 9, 2009 నాడు యూపీఏ చైర్పర్సన్ శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారి నేతృత్వంలో ఆనాటి భారత ప్రధానమంత్రి డాక్టర్ మన్మోహన్ సింగ్ గారు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ఏర్పాటు ప్రక్రియను ప్రారంభించిందని ఆనాటి హోంశాఖ మహాత్ములు చిదంబరం గారు ప్రకటించిన ఒక మంచి రోజు చిదంబరం గారు డిసెంబర్ 9, 2009 నాడు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ఏర్పాటు ప్రక్రియను ప్రారంభిస్తున్నామని ప్రకటించడంతో 6 దశాబ్దాల తెలంగాణ ప్రజల యొక్క 4 కోట్ల ప్రజల యొక్క ఆకాంక్షను ప్రతిబింబిస్తూ యూపీఏ ప్రభుత్వం తీసుకున్న నిర్ణయం ఈ ప్రాంత ప్రజలకు సంతోషాన్ని ఆత్మగౌరవాన్ని అందించినాయి. అందుకే తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం ఏర్పడిన తర్వాత మొట్టమొదటిసారి ఏర్పడిన ప్రజాపాలన ఇందిరమ్మ రాజ్యంలో డిసెంబర్ 9కు ఉన్న ప్రాధాన్యతను గుర్తించి 60 సంవత్సరాల ప్రజల యొక్క బలమైన ఆకాంక్షను నెరవేర్చిన పర్వదినాన్ని తెలంగాణ తల్లి అవతరణ దినోత్సవంగా జరుపుకోవాలని తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం అధికారిక నిర్ణయం తీసుకొని ప్రతి సంవత్సరం డిసెంబర్ 9 నాడు తెలంగాణ తల్లి ఆవిష్కరణ ఉత్సవాలను జరుపుకుంటున్నాం. అందులో భాగంగానే ఈనాడు పోయిన సంవత్సరం రాష్ట్ర పరిపాలనకు కేంద్రమైన సచివాలయంలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహ ఆవిష్కరణ చేసుకొని ఒక స్ఫూర్తిని పరిపాలనలో తీసుకొచ్చినాం. ఈనాడు తెలంగాణలో ఉన్న అన్ని జిల్లా కేంద్ర కార్యాలయాలలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహ ఆవిష్కరణను ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని జరుపుకోవడం ద్వారా ప్రజల యొక్క ఆలోచనను దళితులు, గిరిజనులు, ఆదివాసీలు, మైనారిటీల యొక్క ఆకాంక్షల్ని నెరవేర్చడానికి ప్రతినిత్యం స్ఫూర్తి పొందాలని తమ దినచర్య ప్రారంభమైనప్పుడు తెలంగాణ తల్లి యొక్క ఆశీర్వాదం స్ఫూర్తిని తీసుకొని సంక్షేమాన్ని, అభివృద్ధిని ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్లే విధంగా ఒక బలమైన సంకల్పాన్ని అందించాలి అని ఈనాడు మా ప్రభుత్వం నిర్ణయం తీసుకొని ఈ విగ్రహావిష్కరణ కార్యక్రమాన్ని మనం ప్రారంభించుకున్నాం. అదేవిధంగా మీకు అందరికీ తెలుసు, తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం యొక్క ఆకాంక్ష 2004 ఎన్నికల సందర్భంగా శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారు కరీంనగర్ గడ్డ మీద నుంచి ఈ ప్రజలకు ఒక మాట ఇచ్చారు. మీ ఆలోచన, ఆకాంక్ష నాకు తెలుసు, తప్పకుండా నెరవేరుతుంది అని. ఇచ్చిన మాట ప్రకారం ఎన్ని ఒడిదుడుకులు వచ్చినా, ఎన్ని అవాంతరాలు వచ్చినా అధిగమించి శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ఆవిష్కరణకు సంపూర్ణంగా సహకరించారు. ఈనాడు స్వరాష్ట్ర కళ నిజమై ఈరోజు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో నిటారుగా నిలబడి సంక్షేమము, అభివృద్ధిని దేశంలోనే నెంబర్ 1గా తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం తీర్చిదిద్దుకుంటున్నది. అలాంటి గొప్ప నాయకురాలు ఇచ్చిన మాటకు కట్టుబడి ప్రజల ఆకాంక్ష నెరవేర్చిన గొప్ప నాయకురాలు శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారి జన్మదినం కూడా డిసెంబర్ 9 కావడం మా అందరికీ సంపూర్ణమైన సంతోషాన్ని కలిగించే ఈ పర్వదినం ప్రతి సంవత్సరం తెలంగాణ తల్లి అవతరణ దినోత్సవాలతో పాటు శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారి జన్మదిన ఉత్సవాలను కూడా 4 కోట్ల తెలంగాణ ప్రజలు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం ఉన్నంతకాలం జరుపుకుంటాం. ఎప్పటికీ మా గుండెల్లో, మా రాష్ట్ర పరిపాలన విధానంలో, మా సంక్షేమ అభివృద్ధి కార్యక్రమాలలో శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారి స్ఫూర్తి, డాక్టర్ మన్మోహన్ సింగ్ గారి యొక్క విజన్ ప్రస్ఫుటంగా అమలు జరుగుతుంది. ఈ సమ్మిట్ కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొన్న వివిధ దేశాల నుంచి వచ్చిన ప్రతినిధులకు, ఈ దేశంలో ఉన్న పారిశ్రామికవేత్తలకు, ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని విజయవంతం చేసిన అధికారులకందరికీ మరొక్కసారి తెలంగాణ తల్లి అవతరణ దినోత్సవ శుభాకాంక్షలు తెలియజేస్తూ మీ అందరి దగ్గర సెలవు తీసుకుంటున్నాను. ధన్యవాదాలు.
Honorable CM has greeted all the dignitaries from all over the world. On behalf of Honorable CM, Honorable Deputy CM and Honorable Ministers, Honorable Advisors, Government of Telangana is thankful to all the guests here. కోటి తెలుగుల బంగారు కొండ కింద పరచు కొండట్టి సరసు లోపల వసించి పొద్దు పొద్దున అందాల పూలు పూయి నా తెలంగాణ తల్లి కంజాతవల్లి అన్న దాశరథిని గుర్తు చేసుకుంటూ ఇప్పుడు ఇదే హాల్లో సెషన్ ఆరంభమవుతుంది. జీనోమ్ వ్యాలీకి వచ్చిన సెషన్. హాల్ నెంబర్ 1 జీనోమ్ వ్యాలీ, హాల్ నెంబర్ 2 స్పోర్ట్స్, హాల్ నెంబర్ 3 టూరిజం, హాల్ నెంబర్ 4 $3 trillion economy. I would like to repeat, concerned panel speakers, dignitaries from different parts are requested to be available at respective halls. Hall number 1 Genome Valley, hall number 2 Sports, hall number 3 Tourism, hall number 4 $3 trillion economy. These are the subjects. Thanks to one and all.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to begin May I request the attention of all the guests here, all the participants, kindly be occupied in your seats please. Honorable CM ఇంకొక 3 నిమిషాల్లో ఇక్కడికి వస్తారు. గౌరవనీయులైన మంత్రివర్యులు, సలహాదారులు, చైర్పర్సన్స్ ముందు వరుసలో కూర్చోవలసిగా రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తూ ఉన్నాం. చాలామంది నిలబడి ఉన్నారండి. నిలబడే వాళ్ళు దయచేసి వెనక్కి వెళ్ళండి. వేదికకి ఎడంవైపు కుడివైపు నిలబడి ఉన్నవాళ్ళు మీ విద్యుక్త ధర్మ నిర్వహణలో మీ డ్యూటీలో ఉంటే తప్ప మీరు ఇక్కడ నిలబడి ఉండకూడదని రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు సీనియర్ పోలీస్ ఆఫీసర్స్. ప్లీజ్ ట్రై టు హెల్ప్. సమర శంఖమునూది సమ్మక్క సారక్క తెలంగాణ యోధుల బలము చూపి, సమర శంఖమునూది సమ్మక్క సారక్క
తెలంగాణ యోధుల బలము చూపే రామప్ప గుడిలోని ఇప్పుడు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర వ్యాప్తంగా అన్ని జిల్లాలలో ఆవిష్కరించుకోబోతున్న తెలంగాణ తల్లి అవతరణ దినోత్సవ సందర్భంగా మనం రాష్ట్ర సచివాలయం ముందు డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ సచివాలయం ముందు ఆవిష్కరించుకున్నాం. గౌరవనీయులైన డిప్యూటీ సీఎం గారు, గౌరవనీయులైన మంత్రులందరినీ వేదికపై కావాల్సిందిగా సవినయంగా ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాను. ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఆనరబుల్ డిప్యూటీ సీఎం గారు, ఆనరబుల్ మినిస్టర్స్, ఆనరబుల్ అడ్వైజర్స్ దయచేసి వేదికపై కావాల్సిందిగా రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను. కోమటిరెడ్డి వెంకటరెడ్డి గారు సార్. ఆనరబుల్ డిప్యూటీ సీఎం గారు, ఆనరబుల్ మినిస్టర్స్, ఆనరబుల్ అడ్వైజర్స్ వేదికపై కావాల్సిందిగా రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఆనరబుల్ డిప్యూటీ సీఎం గారిని వేదికపైకి ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాం. ఆనరబుల్ మినిస్టర్స్, రోడ్లు భవనాల శాఖ మంత్రులు కోమటిరెడ్డి వెంకటరెడ్డి గారి విభాగం నిర్వహిస్తున్న కార్యక్రమం ఇది. తెలంగాణ తల్లి రూపుదాల్చటంలో, ఈ విగ్రహ రూపకల్పనలో ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారి సూచనలు, ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారి సూచనలు, మంత్రివర్గం, ప్రజాపాలన ప్రభుత్వం వారి సూచనల్ని దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని తెలంగాణ తల్లి రూపురేఖల్ని రూపకల్పన చేసిన వారిలో రోడ్లు భవనాల శాఖ చేసిన ఒక తపస్సు లాంటి ప్రయత్నం మనకు తెలుసు. For the kind information of dignitaries from outside Telugu speaking area, Telangana Talli is a symbolic goddess for Telangana state, which is just by seeing you can have the inner meaning of that statue. Motherhood, తల్లిదనం మనకు మానవ జాతి రూపకల్పనకి అత్యంత ప్రధానమైంది. యాదేవి సర్వభూతేషు మాతృరూపేణ సంస్థిత, నమస్సస్యై 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 నమో నమః. ప్రకృతిలోని ప్రతి అణువులో కూడా స్ఫూర్తిని, మాతృమూర్తిని దర్శించమంటోంది మన భారతీయ సంస్కృతి. అలాగే యాదేవి సర్వభూతేషు జ్ఞానరూపేణ సంస్థిత, జ్ఞానము, ధ్యానము, తపస్సు, ప్రేమ, see, as per the instruction of senior officers here, I request ministers, సీఎం ఛాంబర్లో ఉన్నారు, డిప్యూటీ సీఎం గారు, మంత్రివర్యులంతా. For the kind information of panel speakers, dignitaries from different places, I would like to re-announce the details given by Gautam Garu. Hall 1 lo Experience Telangana Heritage, Culture and Future Ready Tourism. Honorable Minister Jupalli Krishna Rao Garu chair chestaru. Alage Telangana's Olympic Gold Quest in Hall 2, Genome Valley and Beyond, Accelerating Innovation in Life Sciences, Hall 3, towards 3 trillion economy, leveraging capital and productivity in Hall 4. After the break for 10 to 15 minutes, we will have second session. In Hall 1, Investing in Inclusion, Prospects in Affordable Housing Sector. Hall 2, Musi Rejuvenation and Blue-Green Infrastructure in Hyderabad. Hall 3, Connected Telangana, Integrated Transport and Urban-Rural Connectivity. And Hall 1 again, after lunch, Bharat Future City as a magnet for 3 trillion Telangana. Hall 2, Building Telangana's Entrepreneurship Ecosystem, Ease of Doing Business. Hall 3, Global Capability Centers in Telangana, from Scale to Impact. Hall 4, Innovative PPPs, Harnessing Private Capital Towards Public Goods. And last session is from 4 p.m. onwards, The Creative Century, India's Soft Power and the Future of Entertainment. You know, many illustrious personalities from Telugu film field, Tollywood, and we have heroes from Bollywood also taking part in this. Hall 2, Inclusive Prosperity, Expanding Opportunity for Everyone. Hall 3, Capital and Growth, Investment Pathways, Financial Hub, Strategy and High Impact Sectors. Hall 4 is Startups for 3 million Economy, Telangana 2047. దీంతో పాటు సాయంకాలం 6 గంటలకి ఈవినింగ్ 6 o'clock we have Telangana Rising 2047 vision document will be launched at 6 p.m. expecting all of you to be there. And 7 we have beautiful drone show, and 7:30 onwards we have dinner and cultural show. Thank you. నా తెలంగాణ కోటి రతనాల వీణ అని దాశరథి ఆ రోజంటే ఆనరబుల్ సీఎం రేవంత్ రెడ్డి గారు ఈరోజు అంటున్నారు, నా తెలంగాణ కోటి అవకాశాల ఖజానా అంటూ. ఈ ఆపర్చునిటీస్ని సద్వినియోగం చేసుకోవటానికి ఆల్ ఓవర్ ద వరల్డ్ షుడ్ లుక్ టువార్డ్స్ తెలంగాణ. దట్ ఈస్ ది డ్రీమ్ బై ప్రజాపాలనా ప్రభుత్వం. ఆనరబుల్ సీఎం గారు, ఆనరబుల్ డిప్యూటీ సీఎం గారు, ఆనరబుల్ మినిస్టర్స్, ఆనరబుల్ అడ్వైజర్స్, ఆనరబుల్ సిఎస్ గారు, డీజీపీ గారు, ఇంకా అందరూ వేదికపైకి వేయించేసి ఉన్నారు. మనందరికీ తెలుసు, తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర సచివాలయంలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహాన్ని ప్రతిష్టాపన చేసి అదే తరహాలో అన్ని కలెక్టరేట్ ఆవరణల్లో అన్ని జిల్లాల్లో ఆ తల్లిని మనం దర్శించుకోవాలన్న సంకల్పం ప్రజాపాలనా ప్రభుత్వానిది. అందుకే ఆనరబుల్ సీఎం గారు, డిప్యూటీ సీఎం గారు, మంత్రివర్గం ఈరోజు తెలంగాణ తల్లి రాష్ట్ర వ్యాప్తంగా ఆవిష్కరణ చేయబడింది. గౌరవనీయులైన ముఖ్యమంత్రి, ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి, మంత్రివర్యులు ఇప్పుడు పుష్పాంజలి ఘటిస్తారు. ఇక్కడ ఇదే సందర్భంలో రాష్ట్రంలోని అన్ని చోట్ల కూడా తల్లికి నమస్కరించుకుంటూ అందరూ తెలంగాణ తల్లిని హృదయ పీఠికలపై ఆవిష్కరించుకున్నాం. ఇక్కడ భాగ్యనగరంలో ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు ఇలా రిమోట్ స్విచ్ నొక్కిన తరుణంలోనే రాష్ట్రంలో అన్ని జిల్లాల్లో ఆవిష్కరించుకోబడ్డ తెలంగాణ తల్లికి నమస్కరించుకుంటూ ఇప్పుడు అందరూ గొంతెత్తి పాడదాం జయ జయ హే తెలంగాణ. తెలంగాణ స్టేట్ సాంగ్, రాష్ట్ర గీతం జయ జయ హే తెలంగాణ.
జననీ జయకేతనం ముకోటి గొంతుకలు ఒక్కటైన చేతనం తరతరాల చరిత గల తల్లి నీరాజనం పదపదాన నీ పిల్లలు ప్రణమిల్లిన శుభతరుణం. జయ తెలంగాణ జయ జయ తెలంగాణ జయ తెలంగాణ జయ జయ తెలంగాణ. జీవన చావళీలు చాలువాన కవి గాయక వైతాళిక కళల మంజీరాలు జాతిని జాగృత పరచే గీతాల జనజాతర అనునిత్యము నీ గానం అమ్మ నీవే మా ప్రాణం. జయ తెలంగాణ జయ జయ తెలంగాణ జయ తెలంగాణ జయ జయ తెలంగాణ.
తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర వ్యాప్తంగా జయధ్వానాలు ప్రతిరోజు ప్రతిపూట జయధ్వానాలు అందరికీ స్ఫూర్తిని అందించాలని, తెలంగాణ కీర్తిని ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తం చేయాలని ప్రజాపాలన ప్రభుత్వం తలపెట్టిన గ్లోబల్ సమ్మిట్ ఇంత అద్భుతంగా, అర్థవంతంగా, ఆర్థికంగా, హార్దికంగా ముందుకు సాగుతున్న వేదికపైన గౌరవనీయులు ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారి సందేశం. ఆనరబుల్ సీఎం's మెసేజ్.
తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో వివిధ జిల్లాల కలెక్టర్ కార్యాలయాలలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహ ఆవిష్కరణ కార్యక్రమాన్ని భారత్ ఫ్యూచర్ సిటీ, తెలంగాణ రైజింగ్ గ్లోబల్ సమ్మిట్ వేదికగా ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి వర్యులు బట్టి విక్రమార్క గారు, సహచర మంత్రివర్గ సభ్యులు, పార్లమెంట్ సభ్యులు, శాసనమండలి సభ్యులు, శాసనసభ్యులు, తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో పెట్టుబడులు పెట్టిన పారిశ్రామికవేత్తల సమక్షంలో కేంద్ర రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వ అధికారుల సమక్షంలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహ ఆవిష్కరణ ఈ కార్యక్రమం జరుపుకోవడం ఎంతో సంతోషం, ఒక శుభ పరిణామం. ఇక్కడున్న మిత్రులకు, దేశ ప్రజలందరికీ తెలుసు, డిసెంబర్ 9, 2009 నాడు యూపీఏ చైర్పర్సన్ శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారి నేతృత్వంలో ఆనాటి భారత ప్రధానమంత్రి డాక్టర్ మన్మోహన్ సింగ్ గారు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ఏర్పాటు ప్రక్రియను ప్రారంభించిందని ఆనాటి హోంశాఖ మహాత్ములు చిదంబరం గారు ప్రకటించిన ఒక మంచి రోజు. చిదంబరం గారు డిసెంబర్ 9, 2009 నాడు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ఏర్పాటు ప్రక్రియను ప్రారంభిస్తున్నామని ప్రకటించడంతో 6 దశాబ్దాల తెలంగాణ ప్రజల యొక్క 4 కోట్ల ప్రజల యొక్క ఆకాంక్షను ప్రతిబింబిస్తూ యూపీఏ ప్రభుత్వం తీసుకున్న నిర్ణయం ఈ ప్రాంత ప్రజలకు సంతోషాన్ని, ఆత్మగౌరవాన్ని అందించినాయి. అందుకే తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం ఏర్పడిన తర్వాత మొట్టమొదటిసారి ఏర్పడిన ప్రజాపాలన ఇందిరమ్మ రాజ్యంలో డిసెంబర్ 9కు ఉన్న ప్రాధాన్యతను గుర్తించి 60 సంవత్సరాల ప్రజల యొక్క బలమైన ఆకాంక్షను నెరవేర్చిన పర్వదినాన్ని తెలంగాణ తల్లి అవతరణ దినోత్సవంగా జరుపుకోవాలని తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం అధికారిక నిర్ణయం తీసుకొని ప్రతి సంవత్సరం డిసెంబర్ 9 నాడు తెలంగాణ తల్లి ఆవిష్కరణ ఉత్సవాలను జరుపుకుంటున్నాం. అందులో భాగంగానే ఈనాడు పోయిన సంవత్సరం రాష్ట్ర పరిపాలనకు కేంద్రమైన సచివాలయంలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహ ఆవిష్కరణ చేసుకొని ఒక స్ఫూర్తిని పరిపాలనలో తీసుకొచ్చినాం. ఈనాడు తెలంగాణలో ఉన్న అన్ని జిల్లా కేంద్ర కార్యాలయాలలో తెలంగాణ తల్లి విగ్రహ ఆవిష్కరణను ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని జరుపుకోవడం ద్వారా ప్రజల యొక్క ఆలోచనను, దళితులు, గిరిజనులు, ఆదివాసీలు, మైనారిటీల యొక్క ఆకాంక్షల్ని నెరవేర్చడానికి ప్రతినిత్యం స్ఫూర్తి పొందాలని తమ దినచర్య ప్రారంభమైనప్పుడు తెలంగాణ తల్లి యొక్క ఆశీర్వాదం, స్ఫూర్తిని తీసుకొని సంక్షేమాన్ని, అభివృద్ధిని ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్లే విధంగా ఒక బలమైన సంకల్పాన్ని అందించాలి అని ఈనాడు మా ప్రభుత్వం నిర్ణయం తీసుకొని ఈ విగ్రహావిష్కరణ కార్యక్రమాన్ని మనం ప్రారంభించుకున్నాం. అదేవిధంగా మీకు అందరికీ తెలుసు, తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం యొక్క ఆకాంక్ష 2004 ఎన్నికల సందర్భంగా శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారు కరీంనగర్ గడ్డ మీద నుంచి ఈ ప్రజలకు ఒక మాట ఇచ్చారు. మీ ఆలోచన, ఆకాంక్ష నాకు తెలుసు, తప్పకుండా నెరవేరుతుంది అని ఇచ్చిన మాట ప్రకారం ఎన్ని ఒడిదుడుకులు వచ్చినా, ఎన్ని అవాంతరాలు వచ్చినా అధిగమించి శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ఆవిష్కరణకు సంపూర్ణంగా సహకరించారు. ఈనాడు స్వరాష్ట్ర కళ నిజమై ఈరోజు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో నిటారుగా నిలబడి సంక్షేమము, అభివృద్ధిని దేశంలోనే నెంబర్ 1గా తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం తీర్చిదిద్దుకుంటున్నది. అలాంటి గొప్ప నాయకురాలు ఇచ్చిన మాటకు కట్టుబడి ప్రజల ఆకాంక్ష నెరవేర్చిన గొప్ప నాయకురాలు శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారి జన్మదినం కూడా డిసెంబర్ 9 కావడం మా అందరికీ సంపూర్ణమైన సంతోషాన్ని కలిగించే ఈ పర్వదినం ప్రతి సంవత్సరం తెలంగాణ తల్లి అవతరణ దినోత్సవాలతో పాటు శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారి జన్మదిన ఉత్సవాలను కూడా 4 కోట్ల తెలంగాణ ప్రజలు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం ఉన్నంతకాలం జరుపుకుంటాం. ఎప్పటికీ మా గుండెల్లో మా రాష్ట్ర పరిపాలన విధానంలో మా సంక్షేమ అభివృద్ధి కార్యక్రమాలలో శ్రీమతి సోనియా గాంధీ గారి స్ఫూర్తి, డాక్టర్ మన్మోహన్ సింగ్ గారి యొక్క విజన్ ప్రస్ఫుటంగా అమలు జరుగుతుంది. ఈ సమ్మిట్ కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొన్న వివిధ దేశాల నుంచి వచ్చిన ప్రతినిధులకు, ఈ దేశంలో ఉన్న పారిశ్రామికవేత్తలకు, ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని విజయవంతం చేసిన అధికారులకు అందరికీ మరొక్కసారి తెలంగాణ తల్లి అవతరణ దినోత్సవ శుభాకాంక్షలు తెలియజేస్తూ మీ అందరి దగ్గర సెలవు తీసుకుంటున్నాను. ధన్యవాదాలు.
Honorable CM has greeted all the dignitaries from all over the world. On behalf of Honorable CM, Honorable Deputy CM and Honorable Ministers, Honorable Advisors, Government of Telangana is thankful to all the guests here. కోటి తెలుగుల బంగారు కొండ కింద పరచు కొండట్టి సరసు లోపల వసించి పొద్దు పొద్దున అందాల పూలు పూయి నా తెలంగాణ తల్లి కంజాతవల్లి అన్న దాశరథిని గుర్తు చేసుకుంటూ ఇప్పుడు ఇదే హాల్లో సెషన్ ఆరంభమవుతుంది. జీనోమ్ వ్యాలీకి వచ్చిన సెషన్. హాల్ నెంబర్ 1 జీనోమ్ వ్యాలీ, హాల్ నెంబర్ 2 స్పోర్ట్స్, హాల్ నెంబర్ 3 టూరిజం, హాల్ నెంబర్ 4 $3 trillion economy. I would like to repeat, concerned panel speakers, dignitaries from different parts are requested to be available at respective halls. Hall number 1 Genome Valley, hall number 2 Sports, hall number 3 Tourism, hall number 4 $3 trillion economy. These are the subjects. Thanks to one and all.
We have recently announced Telangana Rising 2047. It is not just a document. It's our pledge to the future. We have set an ambitious target to transform Telangana into a $3 trillion economy by 2047. I want to ground us in the numbers. Today, Telangana's economy is approximately $185 billion economy. To reach $3 trillion economy by 2047, we need to grow roughly 16-fold in just 22 years. Mathematically, this requires a compound annual growth rate of 13.5% in dollar terms, roughly 17 to 18% in rupee terms, accounting for currency depreciation. To put this in historical context, no major Indian state has sustained that level of dollar growth for 2 straight decades. Even during India's best growth phases, states like Gujarat or Karnataka average 11 to 12% nominal growth over long periods. We are attempting to do something unprecedented in Indian economic history. Business as usual growth of 10% also gets us to maybe $1 trillion or $1.2 trillion, not just $3 trillion. The gap between $1 trillion and $3 trillion is what economists call the productivity gap. And filling that gap is the sole purpose of this pen. But numbers are easy to write on paper. The real question is, the question that keeps me wondering is how. We cannot reach a $3 trillion economy simply by working harder. We cannot get there just by building more roads or constructing more buildings. Though we will do that too, to reach this exponential growth, we need to change the fundamental equation of our economy. The equation is simple. Capital plus innovation equals productivity. I once again repeat, the capital plus innovation equals productivity. Capital plus innovation equals productivity. And productivity is the only sustainable way to raise the wages and dignity of the common citizen in Telangana. For decades, government in India have viewed themselves as regulators. We focused on permissions, licenses, and fines. We patted ourselves on the back for improving the ease of doing business. But the world has changed. In the era of deep tech, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing, ease of doing business is just a baseline. It is the minimum requirement now. If we want to be the innovation capital of Asia, we must move from ease of doing business to ease of innovating. We must move from just clearing files to creating ecosystem. Our vision document outlines a spatial strategy: cure, urban, pure, peri-urban, and rare, rural. We have the plan, we have the talent, but innovation is expensive. And more importantly, innovation is risky also. Banks love safety, but innovation requires failures. History tells us that the biggest breakthroughs from the internet to space travel happened because someone was willing to make a high-risk idea for 10 years before it made a single rupee of profit. So the challenge for this panel today is to tell us, how do we unlock that capital? As we as a state are ready to evolve, we are ready to move from being just a regulator to being a catalyst, a partner that shares the risk to reap the rewards for our people. I am here today not just to speak, but listen. We have a brilliant panel of innovators, investors, policymakers, and entrepreneurs. We want to get straight to the heart of the matter with 3 specific questions. Number one, the productivity versus jobs. Paradox: there is a fear that higher productivity equates to automation and job losses. How can we hope to address it? What do you really think is the role of the state in encouraging innovation? Should we, often caricatured as a slow-moving behemoth, keep up to encouraging true innovation? Or should we be involved? We talk about, number three, we talk about artificial intelligence and deep tech, often in the context of software. But the vision document emphasizes the rare rural zone. My question is, how do we ensure that deep tech doesn't just stay in Hyderabad? How do we incentivize capital to solve boring problems like increasing the productivity of a weaver in Warangal, or a farmer in Nizamabad or in Khammam, etc., etc. So friends, let us get started. And gentlemen, I request all of you to put all your heart and soul in this session and give us your valuable ideas and suggestions. And also I thank you once again for coming all the way from all of the, not only from the states, different states of this country, even from all over the world, for, making it a grand, successful event of Telangana Rising 2047 Vision Document Release Function. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks a lot, sir, for your speech. It was very illuminating and set the context rightly, that how does deep tech not just stay inside and solve real problems. So now I will kind of ask questions to all the panelists, but let me just be a bit elaborate on what the context of the whole thing was. So as I said earlier that, we and also Honorable Deputy CM mentioned that when we began this exercise, we learned that if things stay as they are, then Telangana will basically reach $1.2 trillion by 2047. So quite far from its aspiration of 3. And so we realized that the only way it can reach 3 trillion is by improving productivity and by making sustained investments. So sustained investments in particular means attracting FDI. So events like these serve a great purpose. And sustained innovation or productivity will come from innovation. So we have outlined a series of initiatives to foster innovation. One of them is called the Telangana Scientific Return Program, where what we are proposing is that Telangana offers outsized rewards, that is strong monetary rewards to superstar scientists. So scientists who are leading in, say, AI, computer vision, quantum computing, all of these fields, which are the fields for the future, we give them steep rewards and lure them back to Telangana. So this was, and then we have outlined several other initiatives in that chapter that you will see in the Telangana vision document. But then I would first like to get the perspective of Shri Krishna Bhaskar as a policy maker. So, he is someone who, as an engineer, understands the technology very well, as an economist, understands incentives very well, and as a bureaucrat, understands the challenges very well. So I thought I would begin by asking him, how does he view the whole exercise, what we have done or attempted to do in proposing how Telangana will become, as Sir said, the hub of global or Asia's hub of innovation, what he sees as the practical challenges and what he sees as the, not just challenges, but opportunities. Over to you.
Thanks, Aditya. I hope I'm audible. So the idea is essentially, we've set ourselves, thank you sir, we've set ourselves a goal which is, frankly speaking, unprecedented in economic history, and I believe it has been done after a lot of cogitation on this respect. And the analogy which comes to mind when I think of this is, back in the early 60s, and in fact late 50s, when the USSR beat the US in the rocket race and launched Sputnik, there was a lot of despondency. That very term, which is very, I think it's best translated in the Urdu term mayusi, on all of America, that the Soviets had actually beaten us in the space race. There's nothing left for us there. At that point of time, John F. Kennedy came up with a very mission which sounded extremely outlandish and impossible. I think it was back in 1961, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely the early 60s, 60 or 61, just after he took over as president. When the Soviets beat the Americans and the entire world was talking about the technological superiority of the USSR vis-a-vis the US, he said something audacious which no one was prepared for. He said, by the end of this decade, we'll put a man on the moon. And he was ridiculed in the American media for it. And it wasn't deemed possible. But the sheer force of that public pronouncement and the sheer passion and the aggression behind setting a goal for the nation as a whole got all of them together. And I still remember there were people like Werner von Braun, he was originally a Nazi, a German scientist who built their rockets, the Saturn rockets. All of these people heard of this vision and became even more passionate and motivated than they originally were. And NASA, which until then never used to get a lot of funding, and which was never a big agency, captured the American imagination. So there are some things in life you can create or you can will by making them publicly available in the mind space of every citizen. And they may not happen otherwise. And in my sense, this $3 trillion goal is an extremely ambitious goal. Forget about your annualized growth rate of 13-14%. If you take into account your rupee depreciation, you're looking at 17-18%. And this is year on year for 22 years. It's a very, very, very ambitious goal. But the thing is, if you aim at that sort of galaxy, you will be able to get through some sort of critical mass, which will take you to places which you haven't otherwise been taken. So I believe, in terms of a stretch goal, this is like a clarion call to the entire state, its network of innovators, entrepreneurs, policymakers, to try to figure out what is it exactly, what it is the constraint which prevents us going there. I'll just add to that, you asked me to talk about challenges. I think the challenges, our Honorable Deputy CM has stated very clearly. We cannot get there by building more stadia, we cannot get there by building more roads. That will at best take us to 1 trillion, and even that is in doubt. Because after a point you have diminishing returns. The idea is, and as both Aditya and Prasanna have very eloquently argued in their own document, our vision document which will be released today. The idea is you need to increase your own productivity. That secret sauce which allows people to provide more innovation and more output per hour, per capita. And for that, there is no way out but to actively encourage the best in the world to come, set up shop here, create new ideas, create new products, and somehow create an innovation ecosystem. Just like John F. Kennedy, by making a public pronouncement of making a man on the moon, somehow made it happen. We need to, keeping such a stretch goal, need to make this happen just by making all of us conscious and utilizing all of our bandwidth to ensuring that we don't just do our best, but we have the context to do our best. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Krishna, for that very eloquent answer. And it was great to hear the story of NASA and sending a man to the moon, because, it was such an audacious investment back then that nobody gave it any chance of success. And I mean, to be a bit self-serving, but Prasanna and I wrote an op-ed in Times of India I think a few months ago, about investments in these type of technologies, be it space technology or defense technologies. And they have what Prasanna will elaborate on as a multiplier, which is one additional job, how many additional jobs they create. And in such investments into innovation have an enormously high multiplier. And why these things are very important is around 1960s or 70s, there were people who had made, very smart people, I don't want to belittle them in any way, who had made pronouncements saying that the USSR will overtake the US by 1985, 1990. Ironically, it collapsed before that. So the creative, what was special about the US was that a bunch of creative people got together, bunch of people, aspirational people got together and ideated over things and created fascinating wonders, which is what Telangana aspires to do, is my, from all the initiatives I have learned from the political leadership. So I would now though ask Prasanna to, since he is, he has thought a great deal about these issues and has also has led the drafting of the vision document that will be released later today, of how he views the whole importance of innovation in Telangana's economy, why it is the basis of the 3 trillion chapter, and productivity. And also about financing innovation. You know, it's one thing is I have been very silent or conveniently ignored how to finance all of these ambitious initiatives. So Prasanna will probably also talk a bit about that. No, not good.
Thanks, Aditya. Thanks for the opportunity. As Honorable Deputy CM mentioned, you know, the tagline for me, sir, was investment plus productivity. We've been dying to hear this from a policymaker, and we are so glad that you know, policymakers are talking about productivity. When Mr. KB speaks, I usually go with the notes. Unfortunately, I don't have notes today. You know, the insights coming in, I don't have much to add. But except that innovation is not a luxury, it's a necessity for growth. We have to understand when we get into debates about growth, again, I'm an academic and I'll go back to first principles and not much of practice. What is growth? Growth is producing more from same level of resources, or taking less resources to produce the same thing. That's growth. There's nothing else to grow. That's growth. Repeatedly doing it again and again. There is nothing else growth. Now, when you read newspapers every day, you always, you know, yeah, I do understand that, you know, their fascination about demand, consumption, and all of that. That is for a day-to-day kind of a setting. You know, day-to-day it's about demand, because assumption is you have capacity, and if you go in demand, and there will be, you know, production. But when you talk about 25 years, it's not about demand. It's about ability to produce. Your lens has to be very different when you talk about 25 years versus next 2 quarters. You know, when you talk about 8.2% this quarter, or what should RBI do, that lens is very different than when you're talking about here, you're talking about growing the productive capacity. It's not about, you know, there is enough productive capacity and you just go and consume and economy will grow. That's the bigger lens that one has to have. Now, when it comes to theory, how do you grow? You know, until again, since Mr. KB talked about 1960s, until then we did not have a theory of growth. You know, when Robert Solow came about and said, look, how do you grow? The way you grow, he said, look, there are 2 ways, you know, the intermediate growth and the eventual growth. Intermediate growth is you invest, you have capital, and as you invest, you build all the capital equipment, and then you produce more from, you know, because you save and you invest, you produce more. You know, you build infrastructure, you build machinery, use those machinery. That's the first stage. Now, the good news is it leads to growth. The bad news is it has an expiry date. Now, what's the expiry date? Two constraints there. One constraint, as you build more and more capital, additional returns become diminishing. You know, you will have lower returns. You know, higher the capital, lower is that's the problem. And the second problem, is that you need more and more savings. You know, where is that savings going to come from? You know, you can't ask people not to eat. You know, China went to the extent of 50% savings. Can you make it happen in a, and Mr. KB has amazing insights as to why it is. I'll not bring it up here. But they did go to 50% savings. It's unprecedented. Where are you going to get? So these two constraints. And the third is depreciation. You know, as you build more machines, more roads, you need more resources to maintain. It's not that US doesn't save. US does save 17%. But whatever they save is required to maintain their assets. So this will hit a wall. This will hit a wall. We have not hit a wall. You know, Telangana do that also. We are nowhere close to that. But that will then what is that? That will lead to eventual growth, sustainable growth for a long period of time. And Romer came with an answer. It's research, innovation. In Solo's model, you know, productivity is sort of given. It comes from God. You know, there is no, how does productivity happen? It comes. You know, there's no answer. Romer came out with an answer because there was a debate that time that everybody will eventually become rich. Because if capital, you invest, everyone will rich. Then they observed some countries are not becoming rich. Africa is, you know, was not becoming rich. China was not becoming rich. India that time was not becoming rich. This Romer's model is about, you have to create this. You know, it's not God-given. Productivity is not given. Some policymakers, some investors, inventors will have to create it so that people like us can talk about it. You know, we don't do much, right? So that's the whole idea, theory behind all this thinking, that eventually what will lead sustainable growth is, you know, invention. And invention need not be original. You know, you can copy. You know, the problem with Industrial Revolution and UK and those, they had to do original stuff. China and other countries which grow at 10%, they could do this by imitating. So start with imitating and then start original stuff. So this is the broad philosophy that we have suggested, and glad that the government is talking that language. So I'll stop here and we can.
Yeah, thank you, Prasanna, for that answer. Yes, it's really very heartening to hear the policymakers buy into that language and speak that language. You know, you feel that, at least as academics, we feel that what we do, we are in our silos and probably nobody cares. And then you see the political establishment, the bureaucrats really appreciate this importance of innovation. And now coming to the point that that Prasanna mentioned, that we have to attract the best, like growth is not God-given. People have to create things, and we are in that way very lucky to have Parshuram, who actually has created something. I mean, at some level, Prasanna and I have been living in the world of ideas only, whereas Parshuram has been getting his hands dirty for the past, I think, many years. And he is a prototype of the type of people we want to lure back. So he was in the US, he was working, had a successful professional career, but what he may explain best the reasons why he came back to Telangana, but he did. And not only did he come back to work in a professional job, but he has started creating things. So I would like to invite Parshuram to share his experiences, wherein I would particularly ask him also to focus on, you know, challenges are important, but where he sees the comparative advantage of Telangana over, say, the US ecosystem, because, you know, we often hear of what the challenges here are, but I'm sure there are strengths. So we would also like to hear about some strengths, some positives, and how we can reinforce them.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you for the opportunity, Honorable Deputy CM Garu and the esteemed panel. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. So the panel and the government has been talking about the policy, right? So the policy is basically established to address a lot of challenges in the innovation, and Deputy CM Garu has rightly put, the capital plus innovation is productivity. And both are important, the capital and the innovation, but with respect to the both, I would say for a a startup like us, for an innovator, there are a lot of challenges, and I would like to tell you how how we have navigated these challenges and how the policy is going to help navigate this for the future entrepreneurs. When we started off Graviton in the year 2018 and 19, I did an intense research and realized that there were no electric vehicle component manufacturers or the core critical component manufacturing companies in India. And my idea was to develop everything in India so that our vehicles can handle any terrain, that is cities or rural or any part of the country. And what I understood is for that to happen, we need to have full control over the supply chain. And we don't have the control over that supply chain. And we wanted to exactly build that. So we went on, we have taken a very hardship of developing this entire core tech here in India, in Telangana. And what we have developed is a platform. Instead of making one particular look like motorcycle or a scooter, what we have developed is a platform, the tech platform, the core tech platform, with which you can make any kind of, robots. And our first product happens to be a robot on wheels, I say. Why I say robot? Because that's the future, and for any robot, the critical components are very similar to an EV. And coming to the challenges, when I came back to India from US, I assumed that I can go to universities and collaborate with universities to develop these technologies. But what I realized was, unlike US, where the inception of the new tech happens in the university labs, which are funded by either government or the companies or the universities itself. And we don't have that here, which is why you see a lot of new techs coming out of US specifically, and a lot of our engineers, the talent pool from India, the potential people, are traveling to different countries for education and going on to contribute significantly in the tech world. And what I understood was it's not the same case in India. It's completely the reverse. The companies has to develop their own tech. And I primarily believe that's because we were, as a country, more focused on the service and service economy. And we did not focus much on the innovation and the manufacturing or the ecosystem building around it. Probably that could be one of the reasons I felt. And this was one of the big challenge because we did not find, the first challenge is finding the talent pool who has expertise in the core component that includes the motors, the traction motors, the power electronics, or the battery systems. That was the one challenge, and the second challenge was the mindset itself. Because I would say our investment VC ecosystem is used to, for the software world, where the equations are very different when compared to the hardware world, where the gestation period is very long. The returns would come after a very long time. It's not instantaneous. And the mindset was that people, when I pitched this idea that we will be developing everything here, the biggest, the first people were the prospective investors who said, hey, why don't you just do the assembly, bring products or components from somewhere else and assemble them. That was a big challenge I had, that is assembly versus development. So I had to, the entire team had to go above and beyond to convince the potential investors as well as build the team who has this mindset of development, who has the patience to develop. And the third challenge was the investment capital itself, because as I said, our capital was more used, or the VCs were more used towards the software world. And they were asking me, why are you taking so much time to come to the market? Why are you not there in the market yet? And they used to suggest me to just start selling, bring it from wherever I can. But we had to take this hard stance that, okay, we will develop it here. And Fortunately, similar mindset investors we could find in India and in other countries. And now that we are producing and selling as well. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Parshuram, for that eloquent answer. I think he was too humble to mention, or if he did, I missed it, that he has a Asia Book of record for his vehicle to do a 5,400 kilometers journey without recharge, right?
Yeah, without stopping for charging, non-stop riding. The riders were changing, but it's the same vehicle. So within 4.5 days, we did nearly 4,000 kilometers. And for that, we had to establish temporary swap stations throughout the country. And that was to demonstrate that EVs can be a real alternative and to establish confidence on our technology.
Yeah. So, and one thing you mentioned, Parshuram, that really I think hit the nail on the head, which is that when you came and tried to collaborate with the universities in India to bring technology or develop technology, you hit a dead end. This is exactly where, again, it's a bit self-serving because Prasanna and I came up with this proposal, but we are really wanting to strengthen this exactly or solve this bottleneck by giving incentives to bring the best minds and host them in universities. And Telangana or Hyderabad has a lot of excellent institutions. Like many people don't know that there is an ISI Hyderabad, the Indian Statistical Institute Hyderabad. So we have the opportunity to host these leading scholars, and that hopefully in future people like Parshuram will not have to struggle finding people to collaborate within universities and develop technologies. And you know, this is a standard model in the US where professors raise grants through industry, build something that is useful, and then if something works, it's scaled up. So it would be a very healthy ecosystem. Let me throw one next question to both Prasanna and KB. I'll let Prasanna go first to give somewhat of an academic view, and then I will let KB answer from a policymaker's perspective. But you know, when we propose things like go for innovation, go for the best minds, create the best talent, like often the question comes is, what about inequality? Like if you look at say all of these fields, the technology, these are what are called as winner takes all. That means only a few who are at the lead, who lead these technologies get a lot of returns, and rest of the people are left behind. And why should we as a country, as a society, encourage such type of changes in the society? That is often a question. Now, I have my views about why this is a good thing, but I will not, I'll reserve my views. I'll ask Prasanna and then KB to elaborate on why so it is important for the economy and why it is important also from a policymaker's perspective. Prasanna first, thanks.
On the jobs front, let's look at some facts. You know, you have to understand that, you know, broadly, there are all sectors of the economy can be classified into two categories, tradable and non-tradable. Now, what is this tradable sector? Like software, pharma, where everybody, competition is global. There are only two ways you can win there. Either become more efficient or become cheap. There's no other way. You know, there is no other, or you can restrict competition, put in barriers, and then, you know, then it becomes a zero-sum game, you know, who wins like we used to do before. Now, tradable sector is the one where you have to compete. The best people will have to compete. The model that, you know, that seems to have worked is there you go up the value chain. There you do the best possible work. Be at the front end there. Now, what it does is, it generates a lot of income, wealth inside the country. Because now the rest of the people can, usually, you know, 2/3 of the population, Aditya, you know this, works in non-tradable sectors. Now, what are these non-tradable sectors? Doctors, teachers, your yoga instructor, hairstylist, driver, kirana, all of these are non-tradable sectors. Now, the good news about non-tradable sector is, the income of these people in the non-tradable sector does not just depend on their productivity. It depends on the income of their consumers. Go to a village, and see your barber in a village. That guy may be whatever skill level they may have, the level of income they make, there is a limit to the income that they make. Whereas your hairstylist here can make much more, having much lesser skills. You know, I've written about it. I was in Darjeeling recently. The driver was super skilled. He could literally fly the car, you know, in that, you know, Darjeeling terrain, if you remember. The amount of salary the driver makes, 8,000 rupees, plus some tips, 10,000 rupees. And you know, with all respect to drivers here in Hyderabad, they are good, they're very good, but not the level of skill that Northeast drivers have. But they earn 4 times of that, plus they do Swiggy and Zomato and all of that. Where is it coming from? Not necessarily productivity. It's the income entrepreneurs and investors in Hyderabad who created this kind of income. So this is the, unfortunately, if you want to create income for the masses, the only sustainable way is to have this go up in the competitive sector. If you're lower in the competitive sector, what will happen is income of the best people itself will be lower, and the rest of them will have even lower income. You know, inequality will be there. Inequality will not go away. Everybody will have low income. So that's the whole philosophy. There is no other option than to create, you know, jobs at the very high end, so that the low end jobs income goes up. It's actually anti-inequality. You know, your low income people will earn more. In fact, you not getting a maid is a good thing. As an economist, my wife may not agree with me, but as an economist, I'll tell you, you not finding a maid, you not finding somebody is a good thing. It shows things are doing better. That means you have to pay a lot to those people. If you find 10 people, you know, willing to massage you, that's a bad thing, right? That happens when overall income goes up. So that is the model. You know, Mr. KB can elaborate more, but that's the broad model.
So, you know, if I take the economist reasoning a bit further, a paradox or an unfortunate finding is if I have a maid for a while, I must be overpaying that person, because if that person deserved more, they would have got it elsewhere. So that is an unfortunate way of how economists reason, but I agree with Prasanna's logic. So I'll let now KB go for the same.
I really say that in government, we have serious issue with that line of thought, because we do compare apples to oranges and oranges to pineapples all the time, but we try to do it in some sort of fashion which I believe is acceptable. We cannot ever compare apples to just apples. But I'll just come to your point here. I really loved Prasanna's point about the idea of getting non-tradable jobs into an economy, because in the long term, that's where you'll get your masses to grow. And I just want to add on it. That's a great point. Let us presume you've succeeded there. What next? My sense is you still have constraints. The first constraint is, how are you creating jobs? That he's talked about, and they've really, I would request everyone in this room to read their economic modeling. I'm very proud to say that these two gentlemen have carried out an analysis further, which has not been there in any other state's vision document. They've just put numbers there. These two people have worked the numbers, and they've let us know how difficult it is. So we know right at the outset, so it's a challenging task. I'll come to the other part now, which is, what do you do? How do you create these jobs? Now, I have a point here. Let's say you have an absolutely brilliant technology which comes up, let us say Perplexity. Arvind Srinivas comes to Hyderabad, he sets up Perplexity, and he creates thousands of jobs. And like you said, you have tradable and non-tradable. You create an entire ecosystem, people's incomes go up. Now, let us say Perplexity then, for some reason, goes bankrupt. What happens then? The idea is the way government has looked at it so far is, let us bail out Perplexity. You know, too big to fail. This is exactly what happened at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. Of course, they let Lehman Brothers fail, but back in 2009, they allowed these companies to fail. Now, my sense is this is not a model which will work any longer. Number one, governments do not have the financial heft to allow these too big to fail companies to survive. There's another model which I think has worked much better, which is the Swedish model. The Swedish model is, let the job die, but let the employee survive. So if a company folds, let the company fold, but at government expense, the employee will be retrained for employment elsewhere. So this way you're ensuring your economy is resilient, your economy is robust, and if I may use a term, it's even anti-fragile, because you're allowing companies to fail. It's a bit arresting that in the supposedly most advanced economy of the world, the US, powerful firms were able to lobby the Treasury Department. Lehman Brothers went under, but Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan are surviving today essentially because they went and lobbied for a bailout, and they got the bailout. The era of bailouts is gone. And if you want to move beyond bailouts, you have to look at protecting people through a sort of retraining mechanism and skilling mechanism, which Sweden does a lot. And it's a very eloquent way of putting it. Let's protect the worker, not the job. Let the job go. Let the job come up somewhere else. But the family should be protected. And I think that's the way to go. And I think that could be a possible rubric if you want to look at future growth and jobs together.
Thank you, KB, for that answer. Actually, and this is a very important point. I think because now there are already talks about the whole AI valuations being a bubble. And then all the stuff that, if you have been following news, how OpenAI investing in NVIDIA investing in OpenAI, we may actually in the US be seeing exactly this point of where the government in the past had to bail out banks. Now even the tech companies may be too big to fail. If Google fails tomorrow, I hope it will not, but I'm just saying as an example that it can have catastrophic consequences. So it's a very timely point that you raised. You want to add on it?
I would let you know that our Deputy CM actually started his career in banking. And there's a story which he keeps telling us. He says, if you borrow 1 lakh and don't return it, it's your problem. If you borrow 100 crores and don't return it, it's the bank's problem. So I think we should stop, which he keeps mentioning in meetings. I think we should stop ourselves from reaching that stage by some means possible.
That's a great point. And I have seen the Deputy CM also make some very insightful observations like these on credit. Now I can see where these insights were coming from. So when we were in a meeting, Prasanna and I were shocked by one of the, positively shocked by one of the things he said about microfinance. And now I can see where his insights were coming from. Anyway, so moving on, I have one more question to KB, and then we can take questions from the audience if there are any. So there are, all these theses we have built around innovation, that there are lots of calls and also some initiatives about the state acting as a venture capital. So state investing in some of these companies. Now the counterpoint to that is that the state does not have the ability to pick winners. So the state should not be doing this. That is another view. I wanted to know what he feels like and what is the general policymaker's perspective on a proposal like this. And then I would actually also ask Prasanna if he has any view on this.
Yeah, thanks, Aditya. I mean, this is something, now we actually come down to nuts and bolts of what the Deputy CM and the Finance Department do, or the Planning Department deal with on a daily basis. Now the thing is, it's a great idea in practice, in principle for the state to be involved in venture capital. And by the way, it's been done all across. I think Abhijit Banerjee has written very eloquently about the SIBR, the small business, independent business something, SIBR of, companies like I think Symantec and I think one more very, very big companies have actually come from US government handouts in the form of incentives. They've started there. And you don't need to look that far. The entire pharma network of Hyderabad is originally built on the network laid down by IDPL. People like Dr. Reddy's and many other companies have come out from the network of both innovation, knowledge and capital, which was nurtured by IDPL. So I would have you know this, riddle me this. If government is really so inefficient, if government really can't get things done, and if government needs to step out of the way to get real productivity and innovation, I want to ask the audience a general answer. Who started Silicon Valley? I'm just a general answer. If anybody can answer, I'll be very happy. Who's the main reason for Silicon Valley starting? Anybody can venture a guess? There's this lady called Mariana Mazzucato, who's written really fantastically about this. Silicon Valley was not started by Shockley, by William Shockley, or for that matter, the Traitorous Eight, or the Intel. It was started through a government initiative which funded the original innovations into understanding how you could route silica chips to actually store more. And that's really fantastic. Go a little further, you'll see that there's a history of government actually funding individuals who've gone on to make very big contributions. I talked about SIBR. The other example I want to talk about is, there is one country in the world which is now called a startup nation. That's Israel. Like the per capita amount of startups in Israel is far more than, I think, most other countries around. And it started because in the 90s they came up with a concept called Yozma. You can even look it up right now, Y-O-Z-M-A. To be sure, just before this session, I Googled it as well. The Yozma is a situation where when an entrepreneur puts up an innovative deep tech, or you say fundamental sort of innovation, the state steps in. The state only gets a license fee or a registration fee if he is successful. But if the entrepreneur fails, the state takes up to 40 or 50% of his loss. A significant amount. I'll have to check how much amount. The moment you do that, you have a lot more people like Parshuram. Like he has been talking he made a very great point about how the ecosystems are different here, how some walls just stop. I'm very sure that he wouldn't have said this if somebody, when he started his journey, had told him, listen, you do what you want, and if it fails, we'll take half the loss. This is what they did in Israel, and today it's really the startup nation of the world. So I do believe there are valid and understandable models that the government can step in to be a venture capitalist, but it can't be a venture capitalist in the usual sense. The usual sense of being a Vinod Khosla or a Masayoshi Son does not work here, because there are certain limits to what government can be seen to. And my last point here, I see this is a very popular session, there is only standing room, my apologies. My last point here is we do have an absolutely fantastic example in the Indian Innovation Network itself. One of the biggest venture capitalists and one of the most successful venture capitalists in per ROI return terms, in per capita ROI return terms, is the innovation fund set up by IIT Madras, where they started funding their own startups about, I think, 5-7 years ago. The current director, Professor Kamakoti, is behind it. Somebody was telling me that that fund itself is worth more than 1,000 crores today. It must have started at 10, 15 crores, 20 crores max. That's all the IITs give. Trust me, they're very, bahut kanjoos log hai. They will not give you more than that. And it's gone into 1,000 crores, more than 1,000 crores. There is a model available for us if you want to look at venture capital. And if you look at Yozma or the SIBR, I think we have great pointers.
Great. That's a wonderful answer. Actually, before we go to Prasanna, I have one question for Parshuram. As someone from the other side, manufacturing side, do you think that your main challenge is financial capital or human capital? What would be your biggest bottleneck? What was your biggest bottleneck when you started?
It's actually both.
But which was bigger? There must be some.
What's that?
Which was bigger? There must be one.
So I say it's human capital, because when we were scouting for people who has understanding of the core technology to develop it here, we couldn't find people. And I was wondering, why is it, but a lot of Indians going to different countries and doing great. And that's where I realized that, in our universities, we don't have this nurturing of innovation happening, or someone incentivizing, or someone saying that, okay, this is the fund, you can go and innovate within the universities. Probably that's the reason the skill set coming out of our engineering colleges were not to that point where we could leverage their skills. Okay. And the other big challenge was definitely the capital. As I said, for the core engineering, it is still a challenge because the gestation period is very high. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. So, yeah, I think we are running out of time probably, so I'll ask Prasanna just to elaborate on what Krishna Bhaskar was saying about we have some excellent models of financing innovation through state support. How do you feel about that? And yeah, you didn't elaborate on your ideas of financing innovation, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I'll be quick on this. Just one line on what Honorable Deputy CM asked, like on these non-tradables, how do you create these jobs? Sir, the answer is education. Our education, what's happening is a lot of people are entering into degrees without thinking whether they are useful or not. Like during our time, all of us would go into BA, BCom, BSc. Now it's become engineering. So our education system, and as you know, we have proposed, has to think about culture, tourism. These are very valuable jobs, local jobs. People have to be trained on. Not everybody needs to be a postgraduate. Not everybody needs to have a PhD. Or we have to think about hands and getting hands dirty kind of jobs, and then you can graduate. Of course, there should be a way to graduate. After that, you want to study, you study and go up. So focus should be on that. And finally, on as an academic, you have to be a bit more, Mr. KB, you have to be skeptical of government also. And this is why I said you should take notes when he speaks. I think government, there should be one principle though. While I appreciate a lot of fundamental things have come from government, like World War led to a lot of innovation, including the internet. But there needs to be one principle that when the government intervenes, there should be some market failure. That's where the government should come in. Now, a lot of times governments intervene without defining what the market failure is. If you don't define what the market failure is, and if you start doing things which markets can do better, then it's, you can go on a list where things have been a disasters also. So I think there is a market, in financing innovation, I agree. Markets do not, they do not have that long-term vision. You don't have, of course, the first attempt should be to develop those markets because government capacity is also limited. One thing with due respect, governments don't earn anything. It's the people who earn. So it's that people, we have to have that sense also. So I don't want to be an advocate of an unlimited government. That is not, at least I don't stand for. Of course, markets fail. And where markets fail, in the interest of people, and governments will have to come in. And I absolutely agree that, it's too big to fail is a very big, the biggest threat to markets are big market players themselves. That's what we have, I totally agree. So it has to be a balance. Understand market failures, government failures, both of that, and walk a tightrope. It's not easy. It's easy for us to sit here and talk. People like you are on the ground who execute. It's not going to be easy. But that's what seems to have worked throughout the world. Thank you.
All right. Unless
I would like to add one
are-
thing. Sorry.
Yes.
So as KB said, incentivizing the startups or telling them that we will take care of you. If a policy can be placed around that, as well as nurturing the young engineers in the universities itself, create a huge thing called brain drain, right? A lot of our potential guys were going out of the country and working elsewhere. And with this kind of confidence or the policies, definitely I could see that there will be a huge brain gain happening. And that would be great.
And inside
All right, firstly coming up is Mr. Prasanna Tantri. Give a big round of applause. From the finance team, ISB, give a big round of applause to him. We take pride in felicitating him and honoring him. The next name, can you write here?
Just 1 second. Yeah.
Next is Mr. Parasuram Paka. After this, all right.
He's a CEO of Graviton. Graviton. Yeah. This was Parasuram, but you already facilitated. Minister's
All right, next is Mr. Parasuram Paka. Give a big round of applause. CEO Graviton.
Then the Krishna. Yeah, okay, yeah. Deputy CM.
You want it. Just find out. Just Google. Wikipedia, it's fine. Full name? Full name? We have Mr. Aditya. We give a big round of applause. TI tag treasures of Telangana, the exquisite shop, renowned for their intricate tie and dye weaving, embody the timeless skill of our artisans, complementing them the vibrant curial mass and handicraft of the traditional storytelling. Ladies and gentlemen, time to honor our Deputy Chief Minister of Telangana, Shri Mallu Bhatti Vikramarka garu. Gattiga chappalto, let's give a resounding applause to him, please. I think we can shower some more love and energy in the honor of the Deputy Chief Minister, Telangana, ladies and gentlemen. Minister of Finance, Markagaru. Let us celebrate the GI recognized art forms and the master craftsmen who keep our traditions alive. With that, we're officially closing the first session in the Hall 4. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful and amazing audience. We look for a greater vision, the $3 trillion economy. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause as we manifest it for 2047. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated and comfortable at your places.
I've seen you were part of our conference last year in Paris. To see a state like Telangana take the lead, bringing corporates, bringing champions like Gopi, Abhinav, Gagan, all of them together.
Towards sport, and that's what we are looking at from Telangana's point of view.
Excellent. So, excellent. Excellent. Hello. Yeah. Thank you. If it's not a tech glitch, then you think artificial intelligence has taken over. So allow this. You know, these are all part of our day-to-day. So human beings are still in control. So thanks, Gopi. Thanks for that interesting point about how medals are not at the center. Vita, you've done fantastic work with Ultimate Table Tennis. I've seen you were part of our conference last year in Paris. To see a state like Telangana take the lead, bringing corporates, bringing champions like Gopi, Abhinav, Gagan, all of them together, Sanjeev, yourself, from the corporate world, signing of MOUs on that platform. How business has to thrive here, and I'm delighted at what I'm seeing. What are your thoughts on how this state is opening up corporates to come and do real sport by facilitating the growth of sport? Vita Dani.
First of all, I must compliment the leadership here. I think sports has been given its due importance at the right time. And we have to get ready for the cycle of 2036, with of course all fingers crossed. And I always feel that success of an athlete is a combination of the system around the athlete. Only if the system succeeds can an athlete really fulfill his or her dreams. And we are here to ensure that we are part of that system. When I talk about the system, it means grassroots, going on to school, district, state, nationals, and thereafter international exposure and support in every which way, be it physical fitness, mental fitness, tactical, technical aspect, across all fields. And the Olympic quest would be the sharpener that will really get the best out of the medal, I feel. And OGQ is what will really play the important role. So we got to do this across sports. If you look at Dani Foundation, then we are working in all these fields. Grassroots, if you see, we have one of the world's best grassroots program in volleyball in Assam. We work in physical literacy, where of course Gopi is very much a part of it. Table tennis, we work at school level, we work at all national level, international level, talent identification. We look at football, then of course we have touched more than 100,000 lives. And if I put all our initiatives together, it would be more than 650,000 lives that we have touched so far. And we are willing to do more. We are willing to support more academies. In table tennis, we have 9. In soccer schools, we have almost 20. We have high performance center in boxing. So, and we operate in more than 11, 12 states already. And of course, we are willing to do more with keeping in mind Telangana as a state in center.
Fantastic. So I hope you do more stuff in Telangana. Clearly your vision is global and it's multi-sport, and that's something that appeals to me. Sindhu, coming to you, I've covered you practically all your career, whether it's Rio, whether it's Tokyo, despite COVID. I remember that jersey that you had to give me with that 6 feet distance, and you actually sprayed perfume so that, and I was confused what you were trying to do. You went inside, sprayed perfume and signed it for me. So fond memories, but you know, as we are calling it Telangana's Olympic gold quest. You've been there, done that. You've fulfilled that gold quest. in 16 with Gopi, in 21 in Tokyo. So if there's one message that you want to talk about to the younger women who are picking up a racket or a cricket bat or playing soccer or boxing, take Nikhat, or a tennis racket like Sania, what is it that you are seeing in Telangana or you want to see? Sindhu.
Well, a very good afternoon to everyone. Yeah, Boria, I think to mention that, yeah, it was my jersey which I've played, so that's why I had to do a perfume on that and I'll give it to you. But definitely, yes, fond memories. Yeah, I think the most important thing is, as many of them mentioned here already, I think, grassroots levels is where something we'll all have to start off with. But I think the most important thing also where it starts with is the support system when it comes to, the coaching and the way they're coaching the athletes. I mean, there are coaches, there are trainers, there are SNCs who are actually coaching, but it needs to be very uniform in such a way that every athlete gets the importance. And I know there are a lot of academies, there are a lot of stadiums, but I would say, it needs to be focused on every academy and every stadium where every athlete gets the equal importance. I think that's where athletes come up. And when I say grassroots levels, yes, initially they start off and then there are coaches everywhere. But I think when the kids are growing up, that's when you need to make sure the foundation is very strong. And I think that's where I say, the support system when it comes to a coach or an SNC, because every athlete is different. Every athlete, they might think differently. They might need different things. For example, one might be stronger in a particular skill. Another might be weak in, let's say, in their strength or their endurance. So that is when I say each one needs to get a very good importance in terms of a particular SNC and a coach. So I think that here, being here, of course, I'm very privileged to be here today and talking about the Telangana Rising Global Summit. I think I can say that CM sir has been very kind enough to be very supportive towards sport. And I'm really looking forward, in the next coming years, it will be really good. And of course, I have so much of experience in sports now, and sport has taught me so much. And I think for me, it's time to give back to the sport, and definitely would give my best to give my thoughts and share my experiences whenever required. So of course, I'm sure it will definitely be a very good state where to have a good stadiums and of course good athletes to come up and get medals for the nation and for the country as well.
You know what, 2016, after she won the medal, and India had won 2, if you remember, Sakshi and Sindhu, about 2-3 months later, almost every day there was a felicitation. I remember meeting Sindhu and I asked, you are the toast of the country, what has changed? And she said to me, and I remember that statement, that yes, my life has changed, people's perception of me has changed, money and everything and fame, but I haven't changed as a person. Ladies and gentlemen, PV Sindhu. Azhar bhai.
Jitendra Reddy garini sadhananga vedika meeku aahvanistha unnam. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. Azhar bhai, yesterday night also when you and I were chatting and I asked you this question, I ask again. When I see, firstly, your career, legendary cricketer, made a difference, one of our favorites, know you from 1986, 85, 86, that tour, 300s. But now, let me ask you a specific question. After the Women's World Cup, Mithali Raj, Arundhati Reddy, Sri Charani, the tradition is here. Are you planning something special to give the fillip to the women's game in Telangana? Because according to me, the opportunities are endless. And while we say that it's a level playing field, it's not. Match fees are the same. Central contract, 7 crores for men, 50 lakhs for women. So there is a big gap there. Are you, and the grassroots, practically no money. Are you going to sort of do something special in the light of the Women's World Cup to give a fillip to the women's game? Mohammad Azharuddin.
I think, Boria, the Telangana has produced many women players who have won a lot of medals. 2 are already here. And then Sania is there, and Saina Nehwal is there now. Nikhat Zareen also, they've got a lot of medals. So there is a lot of encouragement for women in Telangana. and they have won a lot of medals also. But I think the grassroots level thing, I'm also very in favor of grassroots level. But at the same time, I think what happens is, even if you pick people at the grassroots level, first you have to look at the skill. If you don't have the skill in a particular sport which you are picking up, then there's no point going ahead with the player. Because I remember about 3 or 4 years back, and I took somebody to Gopi's academy, and he looked at that person and he said, "Okay, no, it's not possible that he's going to play. Big badminton matches." So that's what we need from players, from coaches also. Because I think when you have the skill, then only all these things come up: dedication, application, everything, hard work. If you don't have the skill, even if I have a skill to play cricket, then if I start playing football, then I'll be wasting my time and wasting everybody's time. So I think the Telangana Sports Hub also has been created by the Honorable Chief Minister, who is also a very avid sportsman. He plays a lot of football, and you will definitely see him in action on the 13th when he's going to play with one of my favorite players, Lionel Messi. And I think Telangana has already done a lot, and it's going to do well, because with this new future city which is coming up, there will be a lot of facilities. Because when I was growing up, when I was playing, there were hardly any facilities. We played on very, very different grounds. I want to tell you something, that I'm very, very lucky that I have not been injured very badly. I mean, the grounds we played and the wickets we played without helmets, everything, as a youngster, I'm very lucky. I mean, if you ask me to play now, I will not play, because it's not good. Because the facilities now have improved. I think you have a lot of coaches who are really very, very good. And then if you see, I mean, especially in the cricket, you have more staff traveling than the players. If I'm right, I would definitely say about that. And I think the facilities are very good, and the platform is there for the players, but how well they use that platform. I mean, winning a gold medal, and it's not very easy, and an Olympic medal, actually, Sindhu has already done that, and Jwala is also here, and Gopi Bhai is already, won the All England badminton. So I'm a very avid sports watcher. I like watching sports, but I think the most important thing I want to tell is that if you find somebody who's very skillful, who's very good, please take care of all his problems, starting from family till he goes up. Because what happens is, there are so many players who come up, they have a lot of family problems. Okay. They want to, their parents, a lot of pressure is there on the parent. They want their son to do something, get a job, and then get their sister get married, all the things. If you find somebody who's exceptionally well, you please take care of all his things. Just tell him, go and play. Don't worry about what is happening. That is the one thing we should do it. Because if you do that, you will get many, many players. Because most of the players, they just fall away because of this problem.
Okay. So opportunity. If you try and understand what Azhar was talking about, opportunity, and that's what brings me to Jwala. Jwala, to see a summit like this, mainstream sport, this is clear mainstreaming sport. We've seen in India, various states, if there are convocations, congregations like this, sport is a silo. It's like, okay, there will be one panel, 20 minutes at the end of the day. Here, it's mainstream. Whether it's the CM's vision of bringing in corporates and sports people together, whether we are seeing what we are seeing on the dais. In your case, the word that was used for you, trailblazer. When you started out, no facilities whatsoever, to win a world championship medal in 2011, to be the best in the world in doubles, Commonwealth Games gold, and now, what are the changes, Jwala, you are seeing in Telangana that will enable the next Jwala Gutta to come up, pick up a badminton racket and make a mark?
Hi, good morning everyone. What I feel is that, I was lucky to have a coach like Arif sir. I think he was a consistent coach whom I trained under. And that's what I feel. I feel we are not doing enough for the coaches. Every time when the sports is mentioned, we just think about the athletes and who are going to win the medals. But I think there are a lot of work which is done behind everybody. I'm sure everyone agrees, a good support system which includes coaches, is not what we are focusing on. I think we need to, the sports policies have to mention the welfare of the coaches. I still hear that a lot of coaches are still under contract and they still struggle and don't have permanent jobs. I think that is very, very important. We need to support the coaching. People who are interested in coaching, take care of, because that's their bread and butter. And if you want them to focus on the athletes and to bring medals, we need a good, system for coaches and see that they don't struggle. And I think I was lucky to train under RF sir, and I had a consistent coaching and support system from RF sir, and that's why I think I could, even dream of doing something big. So I think I'll be really happy if the sports policies include coaches' welfare and uplift them. I always believe this, that good coaches, you'll definitely have good players. And Gopi Bhaiya is an example, so encourage other coaches, give them the stability and hold them and give them the incentives which we as players get, and then I'm sure they will work hard towards. I think that's what is the missing link, is what I feel in our system. We don't talk about our coaches much.
That's a brilliant point. Taking care of the coaches. Yesterday, Gopi and I were sitting in his academy, and all of a sudden, and here, once again, ladies and gentlemen, these are important points. Telangana as a young state taking the lead.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. I want that our coaching system should become so strong that we don't depend on foreign coaches.
Absolutely.
In future.
Absolutely. So yesterday, and this actually brings me to this point, we were sitting and there were a few Mizo kids training out there. And I asked him, tell me a little bit more about these kids. And eventually I get to know that there are 10 Mizo coaches now working as part of the academy. So it's not just doing for Telangana, it's also doing for the rest of India. So Telangana taking the lead there, that's brilliant. So absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a state showing the way for the rest of the country. Stand out. Ambati, all of us are talking about coaches. You've just finished a career, accomplished cricketer, so much achievement. I'm going to give it back. Coaching, what's the thought? If there's one thing that you want to do as a possible coach, making a difference to the ecosystem in your state, what would that be?
Coming from Hyderabad, I've played here, I've grown up here, I've played junior cricket for Hyderabad. So Hyderabad has always had extraordinary talent. To nurture the talent, as Ajubhai said, we need very good infrastructure, very good coaches, and most importantly, I think coaching has to, develop a mindset to make sure, especially as a player, once you are transitioning into a coach, it is very, very important to put the player's priority first. So it's never about yourself, and especially coming from a team sport. I think sport as a whole, I feel, unites the community, unites a city like Hyderabad. People from various corners of the country come and live in Hyderabad, and in a team, we have people from different communities, different castes, different religions. It all brings together, and I feel the unison is what I feel is the greatest aspect of sport, and that is what Hyderabad should strive towards. And also, most importantly, what I feel, having played the sport for 30 years, is the sport is slowly transitioning towards, people who have money. I think it is very, very important for the government to have a policy where even if a person who is talented has nothing and, is a poor man, still should have the facilities that are world class for him to, thrive and also come up, because that is very, very important. Because as you grow up, as Ajubhai would rightly say, we all have grown up with absolutely nothing. But today that is not the case, and I think it is very, very important to, for the government to have a look at that.
Okay. Again, so grassroots, facilities, there's a chain that we are talking about. So that's kind of uniting this panel on stage. Let me come to you, sir. As the chairman of the Sports Authority, and by the way, One thing that is missing as part of this panel, but again Telangana has addressed that. As the moderator, it's my job to put that out. We are all celebrating able-bodied athletes here. Yesterday in Gopi's Academy, I met Deepthi Jivanji. Para-sport is something, disability sport, sensitivity, that's something that once again Telangana is taking a lead in. So Paralympic Games, para-sport, disability sport is something that I'm seeing being taken care of in this state, which as an analyst, as a scholar of sport, I don't see that happen. Sir, when I see Telangana, I see cricket, I see football, I see table tennis, I see badminton, I see boxing, I see Paralympic sport. So clearly, I see a holistic vision. Your thoughts on that?
అందరికీ నమస్కారం. తెలంగాణ ముఖ్యమంత్రి రేవంత్ రెడ్డి గారు వీటన్నింటి మీద అంటే గతంలో దాంతో పోలిస్తే చాలా మటుకు ఉమ్మడి ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో ఉండేదాంతో పోలిస్తే తెలంగాణ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ముఖ్యమంత్రి రేవంత్ రెడ్డి గారు స్పెషల్ స్పోర్ట్స్ మీద ప్రత్యేక టార్గెట్ పెట్టి స్పోర్ట్స్ని ఎంకరేజ్ చేస్తే ఈ హెల్దీ తెలంగాణ అంటే ప్రతి ఒక్కరూ హెల్త్గా ఉండాలంటే ఫస్ట్ స్పోర్ట్స్ ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఆ స్పోర్ట్స్కు ఏర్పాటు చేయాలి అని అంటే ఫస్ట్ గ్రాస్ రూట్ లెవెల్ నుంచి మొదలు పెట్టాలని సీఎం కప్ను మొదలు పెట్టడం జరిగింది. అది విలేజ్ లెవెల్ నుంచి, మండల్ లెవెల్ నుంచి, అదేవిధంగా డిస్టిక్ లెవెల్, స్టేట్ లెవెల్ వరకు తీసుకురావడం జరిగింది. అదేవిధంగానే కోచెస్ కొరత చాలా మటుకు ఉండే గతంలో. ఇప్పుడు ఆ కోచెస్ని కూడా స్పెషల్ కేసు తీసుకొని స్పెషల్గా కొత్త కోచెస్ని కూడా తీసుకురావడం జరుగుతూ ఉంది. దాంతోపాటు ఇందాక వీళ్ళు ఇచ్చిన సజెషన్స్తో పాటు వీటన్నింటినీ రాబోయే రోజుల్లో పెద్ద ఎత్తున తీసుకోవడానికి అందరం ముందుకు పోతున్నాం. ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారి విజన్, అదేవిధంగా మినిస్టర్ గారి విజన్, జయేష్ రంజన్ గారు కానీ, సోనిబాల గారు కానీ, జితేందర్ రెడ్డి గారు కానీ, అంటే ఎంటైర్ తెలంగాణలో ఇందాక చెప్పినట్లు ఇండియా నుంచి ఒలింపిక్స్లో ఒక్క గోల్డ్ మెడల్ సాధించలేకపోయినామని ఒక బాధ ఉంది. నెక్స్ట్ ఇండియా మొత్తంలో తెలంగాణ నుంచి ద బెస్ట్ ప్లేయర్స్ని తయారు చేసే విధంగా ఈరోజు కార్యాచరణ సిద్ధం చేస్తున్నాం. దానికి ముఖ్యంగా కావాల్సింది గ్రౌండ్స్. ఆ గ్రౌండ్స్ మీద ఇప్పుడు కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ చేసింది స్పోర్ట్స్ అథారిటీ ఆఫ్ తెలంగాణ. డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ లెవెల్స్ అండ్ స్టేట్ లెవెల్లో ఉండేటువంటి గ్రౌండ్స్ కంప్లీట్ చేసుకొని నెక్స్ట్ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ లెవెల్ అండ్ విలేజ్ లెవెల్లో కూడా గ్రౌండ్స్ ఏర్పాటు చేయాలి. దానికి కావాల్సినటువంటి మినిమం అంటే ఏ విలేజ్లో ఏ స్పోర్ట్స్ మీద ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్గా ఉన్నారు అన్నది మన సీఎం కప్ ద్వారా ఒక లిస్ట్ అవుట్ తయారు చేసినాం. ఎవ్రీ విలేజ్లో అంటే ఒక అథ్లెటిక్స్ కానీ చాలామంది ప్లేయర్స్ దాదాపు 3.5 lakh పీపుల్స్లో 450 అంటే స్ట్రాంగ్ క్రీమ్ని ఈరోజు తీసుకురాగలిగినాం. వాళ్ళందరికీ ఇప్పుడు స్పెషల్ ట్రైనింగ్ ఇచ్చి నెక్స్ట్ వాళ్ళని ద బెస్ట్గా తయారు చేయాలన్న ఆలోచనతో తెలంగాణ గవర్నమెంట్ ముందుకు పోతా ఉంది. వన్స్ అగైన్ మరొకసారి మీ అందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలు. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Okay, so I was just asking Ambati to try and translate for me my deficiency. And again, it pleases me to know the plan for the districts and the grassroots, because you've created a clear pyramid, and that is what pleases me no end. Jitendra ji, as advisor to the sports department, if there's one thing that if you tell me that, okay, it's an Olympic gold quest leading up to 2030 Commonwealth Games or the 2036 Olympic Games, as Vita said, fingers crossed if India wins the bid, if there's one thing that you want to see, what I also think is Telangana should host a sport, because now it's no longer a city's games, it's a country's games. So if India gets it, whichever city hosts it, Telangana should also be a part of the overall thing, because that's what the IOC mandate is. But tell me, Jitendra ji, if there's one thing that you want to see over the next 4-5 years happen in your state, what is it?
Thank you very much. And the participant here, very good morning to you all. As you see that today in the rising Telangana, we have a very important role which is playing, that is sports. The earlier government last 10 years had totally neglected it, and we really didn't have funds also to run our sports and really see that our sportsmen had to participate in their games and all. But now, as we have got enthusiastic Chief Minister and as well as a very good Principal Secretary, Mr. Jyesh Ranjan, who is also taking up a lot of efforts into bringing sports back into Telangana, and we have got a enthusiastic sports minister, Mr. Srihari, Waket Srihari, and as well as a very good chairman here. And under their rule, now sports is really shining. As you see, many events in the last 2 years have occurred in Hyderabad, like the international football and the badminton matches and the hockey matches. And today, Yesterday we had a supercross motorcycle competitions, and now on the 13th we are getting Messi also into Hyderabad. There is a lot of craze now because of the efforts from the government and as well as our Chief Minister. And with the efforts of our Principal Secretary, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, we had released our sports policy, where sports policy has been released, and now he also has crafted a university for already our, I can see our Vice Chancellor sitting in front of us, who has, I think, resumed his duty just 2 days back. And we have got a lot of hope that as myself, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, Mr. Shiv Sena, we all had visited Brisbane, Australia, the universities and all, and have seen the sports universities. Definitely, we hope that this Telangana University will be one of the best universities for the sportsmen here. And not only that, we have a FIFA Academy which have been given for the first time for the girls also here, which is the first time in India, which has been not only India, I think it's the second in the world also. And now coming to, as you have said, that the events which have to be happen. As a sports advisor, and I am also the Olympic Association State President here. With this, we are meeting a lot of people in the central. We have met Mansukh Mandiaji, who is the sports minister in Delhi, and have requested him for Khelo India. As you have seen that we already have a good infrastructure in Hyderabad. Like we have already done the nationals here in 2022, and we have done the military games. The World Military Games were conducted in Hyderabad. So with a lovely infrastructure which we have here, we have asked them for Khelo India, and I'm sure that very shortly it will be announced for us. And also we have met recently PT Ushaji, and have asked for the national games also to be allotted to us. So these type of events in which we are going ahead and we are progressing on to that, and events after events we are trying to make in Telangana, so that the past glory which we had in Telangana as for the sports will come up, and definitely in the Commonwealth Games, lot of our participants will participate. I think our great Azharuddin, who is a cricket player and a well-known stalwart in Hyderabad, has now again come back into the field. Sindhu is here, Jwala is here, Gopichand is here. With all their experiences and all, we think that Telangana will again rise, and it's already rising, and it will definitely reach the sun. That is what I think. Thank you very much.
Nice. One could have continued, this is a panel with which you can continue for hours. But obviously there's another panel to follow, and you've got a whole day packed events. The one point that I'll take from Jitenderji is the link between sport and education. Having taught in universities across the world, whether it's Loughborough, whether it's Toronto, whether it's Chicago, I will tell you that the sports facilities, the integration between academia and sport is something that is lacking in India. So I'm absolutely delighted in seeing this initiative to do a sports university. One story from me, and then I'll close with Jayesh Ranjanji and our Honorable Minister. For me, what is sport? What does sport teach all of us? Sport teaches all of us to lose, because every loss is a stepping stone to success. This day, for example, ladies and gentlemen, is not a perfect day. Nothing is perfect. But the quest for all of us is to be perfect in an imperfect day. And that's what sport teaches us. Take the example of Nikhat Zareen. Good to give you, because a localite, and she's not here. So I'll tell you a 30-second Nikhat story and close with Jayeshji and our minister. So when Nikhat started boxing, there was no facility here in Hyderabad. So she goes there and comes home with a black eye. So her mother says, "Shadi nahi hoga. Iske baad to family mein problem ho jayega." So somehow she continues to box, and she says, "Jab main world championship jeet jaungi, uske baad दूल्हों का line lag jayega, aap dekh lena." So she goes on, wins the world championship in the US, and the previous night she once again had a black eye in training. Now she gets on a call with her mother, and the mother sees the black eye and said, "What happened?" And she said, "Oh, training mein ho gaya." She said, "Koi farak nahi padta, aisa hota rehta hai, kal theek ho jayega." That's the change. That is the Telangana rising that I want to see. And now With every Nikhat Zareen bout, it's her mother sitting in the first row and shouting, Mar or Mar. That is the Telangana of tomorrow. The dominance, the lead, the leadership, and as I see, optimism. Jayesh ji, the one thing that you want to accomplish, being in a position of authority, what is the one thing that you want to tell my audience today that you want to see happen here in the next couple of years?
Thank you. Thank you, Boria, for moderating a very interesting panel. So, all the while we have spoken about sports persons and athletes who are serious, who can be groomed and nurtured, and hopefully they represent the country and bring glory. But I also want to emphasize on behalf of the government that we also want to promote a culture of fitness. So whether you become champion athletes or not, even for recreation purposes, play some sports, remain active. And of course, you began the panel by discussing physical literacy. So this again is an important thing. And schools are going to be the focal points. When you are a young student, this ambition, this hope that's becoming active and trying to do well in some sport is as important as doing good in studies. So that is again an important priority for us.
Brilliant. Minister Saab, you started the show, so why don't you tell me, because ultimately this is a world where we see wars, we see negativity, we see toxicity, but when it's sport, it unites us all. Do we know what religion? We don't care. Do we know what caste? We don't care. Gender? We don't care. Sport ultimately is real. It brings all of us together. Your final words.
Thank you. बात रह गई है जब अज्जू भाई और हमारा ज़माना था, जब खेलने ग्राउंड जाते तो पापा मम्मी ने लकड़ी लेके आते थे, दे मारते थे, पहले पढ़ बाद में खेल विल बंद कर। आज ऐसा चेंज हुआ, अगर आज बच्चे लोग पढ़ने जा रहे क्या के लिए पढ़ते, पहले जाके खेल, मतलब इतना चेंज हो गया सोचने में। और मैं ये मंच से जो बड़े बड़े यहाँ पे स्टार्स बैठे हुए हैं, हमारे चेयरमैन साहब हैं, हमारे एडवाइजरी वेरी एसोसिएशन प्रेसिडेंट भी है तेलंगाना का, और जयेश रंजन सर भी है, मैं सब ये मन से मैं मैसेज देना चाहता हूँ। आजकल बच्चे लोग जो दिल लगा के नहीं खेलते, एक बात याद रखना, आप बहुत किस्मत वाले भी हैं और बदकिस्मत वाले भी हैं। किस्मत इसलिए कि आपके पेरेंट्स आपको एनकरेज कर रहे हैं खेलने के लिए, बदकिस्मती इसलिए वो जो जुनून होना है प्लेयर को, जो इन्वॉल्वमेंट होना है प्लेयर को, जो जिंदगी ही अगर गेम बन के अगर नहीं जी पाया, नहीं खेल पाया, आजकल शौक ज़्यादा हो गया, वो अच्छा ड्रेस पहनता है तो कोई देखता रहता है, दोस्त फोटो खींचता नहीं खींचता करके, और खेलते समय उसके दिमाग में क्या रहता है, मेरे गेम कोई देख रहा नहीं देख रहा करके, अरे सब मेरे बारे में कुछ बात कर रहे नहीं कर रहे, उसका सोच रह जाता है। तो मैं वो प्लेयर्स के लिए मैं बताता हूँ, टाइम वेस्ट मत करना। अगर वैसा शौक आपको पब्लिक देखने की है, फोटो खींचने की है, प्लीज आप स्पोर्ट्स छोड़ दे के पढ़ा लीजिए और आपका समय बर्बाद मत करिए। अगर जिसको खेलना है, खेल ही भगवान है, अगर खेल ही माँ बाप है, खेल ही उसका दुनिया है, और खेल के लिए वो जिया है और खेल के लिए जो मरता है वो ग्राउंड में उतरिए, खेलिए। आप दुनिया के लिए सोच रही है, वो सोचो मत। जब आप दुनिया के लिए सोचेंगे तो कुछ नहीं बन पाओगे। अगर आपका गेम ही दुनिया बन के अगर खेलोगे, सारी दुनिया आपके तरफ देखेगी, ताली मारेगी, आप खंदा उठाएगी, इस पूरा वर्ल्ड को दिखाएगी। प्लीज प्लेयर्स को मेरा रिक्वेस्ट है, जब तक आपका इन्वॉल्वमेंट नहीं होता है गेम में, जब आप गेम को ही भगवान नहीं समझते, जिंदगी नहीं समझते, अगर गेम से कुछ हासिल आपको कुछ होता नहीं है, आपका जिंदगी खराब हो जाती है। अरे आप बहुत किस्मत वाले हैं, पेरेंट्स कई मतलब आशा लेके, कई पैसे इन्वेस्टमेंट करके, टाइम इन्वेस्टमेंट करके फ्यूचर बना के रखा है आपके लिए। आप जो है ना वो इन्वॉल्वमेंट छोड़ दे के खाली पीली टाइम वेस्ट मत करिए। आज तेलंगाना ऐसा एक प्लेटफॉर्म है जहां सीएम कप के माध्यम से या नहीं जहां गांव से जो प्लेयर्स को हम निकाल के स्क्रूटनी करके उनको एक बड़ा प्लेटफॉर्म पे देखने का दिखाने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं। आज तेलंगाना तैयार है खिलवाने के लिए। हम सब प्लेयर्स को इनवाइट करते हैं, भाई आप दिल लगा के मन लगा के ग्राउंड में उतरिए, हम पूरा दुनिया को आपको आपका नाम दिखा देंगे, रोशन करेंगे। आपके ऊपर आपका पेरेंट्स एक ही निर्भर नहीं है। चाहे आप समझते होंगे अगर मैं अच्छा खेलता हूं तो मेरे माँ बाप का नाम आता है, नहीं, आप माँ बाप के देश के लिए खेलना है, तेलंगाना के लिए खेलना है। इंटरनेशनल में अपना देश का नाम जब रौनक हो जाएगा उसके लिए खेलना है। हम सब भी आपके ऊपर बहुत डिपेंडेंट है। मेरी तरफ से यही बताना चाहता हूँ, प्लेयर्स को मेहरबानी होती है अगर इस गेम में जब उतरते हैं तो दिल तोड़ के, मतलब पूरा दिल लगा के उतरना है, अपन हासिल करना है। तेलंगाना में भी एक क्रीड़ा प्रेमी है जो समझे तो आज इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे भी పొన్నం ప్రభాకర్ जी मंच पे आ जाइए, వేం నరేంద్ర గారు రండి. అండ్ మీ అందరికి తెలియజేసుకుంటూ, చిన్నారులారా ప్రపంచం చూడాలి, నన్ను ఎవరన్నా పక్క వాళ్ళు చూస్తున్నారా, నా ఫోటో తీస్తున్నారా, నా రికార్డ్ చేస్తున్నారనే ఆలోచనతో ఆడకండి దయచేసి. మీకు మీ పేరెంట్స్ ఒక్కరే కాదు, మేమంతా కూడా మీ మీద ఆశలు పెట్టుకున్నాం. మీరు ఆటనే దైవంగా ఆడండి, ఖచ్చితంగా ఆటనే సర్వమని ఆడండి. ప్రపంచం మీదకు చూసే రోజు ఖచ్చితంగా వస్తుంది అని చెప్పి తెలియజేస్తూ ముగిస్తా ఉన్నా. జై హింద్.
Okay, so I know the next session is almost there. So let's finish on this line. We are talking about Telangana rising. Next time when we meet, let's say Telangana has risen. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome on stage Shri Poonam Prabhakar Garu, Minister, Honorable Minister of Transport and BC Welfare in Telangana. Ladies and gentlemen, we move forward with our felicitations now. I request our Honorable Minister for Sports and Youth Services, Shri Vakili Sri Hari Garu, kindly please present mementos to Mohammad Azharuddin. I request you, sir, to please step forward to receive the memento. We also request Shri Shivasena Reddy Garu and Shri Jayashan Reddy Garu to kindly please join in. We'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Jitendra Reddy, Advisor to Government Sports Affairs. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in. And yes, Mr. Mohammad Azharuddin being felicitated, ladies and gentlemen. I now request Ms. Geeta Adani to please step forward for the felicitation. Yes, Ms. Geeta Adani being felicitated, and ladies and gentlemen, our Honorable Minister of our Chairman Sports Authority of Telangana, Shri Shivasena Reddy Garu. I now request Mr. Pullela Gopi Chand to kindly please step forward to receive the felicitation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we move towards our next panel discussion, which is Musi regeneration and new green infrastructure in Hyderabad. Ladies and gentlemen, the panelists for this session, Musi regeneration and new green infrastructure in Hyderabad. We move towards this panel discussion, and I will be inviting our panelists for this session now. Yes. I request Dr. Rajendra Singh, Mr. Tapas Paul, Ms. Srija Nayak, and Mr. Arjun Shashidharan to kindly please proceed towards the stage. And also our moderator for the session, Global Summit 2025. We witnessed the first session of day 2. That was the Telangana's Olympic Gold Quest. And in a few minutes we shall proceed. Yes. Dr. Rajendra Singh. Yes, we welcome Dr. Rajendra Singh on the stage for our second panel discussion, Musi regeneration and blue green infrastructure in Hyderabad. Can I have the introductions like how they gave me for this?
how to better the Hyderabad ecosystem and how to improve the economy. So taking that cue as the basis, the Musi rejuvenation is planned. If you have visited the stall, you must have understood what exactly the vision is for the Musi rejuvenation there and how we are planning for the redevelopment. When we are talking about the Musi redevelopment and the rejuvenation, we are talking about the new economy, that is the night economy of Hyderabad. So this is cure. Then in the peri-urban region economy area, beyond ORR and up to the regional ring road that is coming up in a periphery of 360 kilometers. Within this region, Honorable Minister is looking after the development of industrialization and the townships along with that, the satellite townships. So this is a plan. And third one is the regional agricultural economy that is called RARE. See, this is how entire Telangana is planned as a spatial development. When we are talking about Musi and the blue-green Hyderabad, how we are going to develop that, how we are planning for rejuvenation. And here today the panelists, I would request all of them, discuss on how the plans were across the world when it comes to the rejuvenation of the rivers, and what is your experience into it across India. And please suggest, our plans are now get going, and from ADB also we are thankful to them that they have agreed to fund the phase 1. And what all the plans we have definitely are in a world-class manner, but at the same time, we want to have Musi again as the lifeline for the economy of Hyderabad. With these opening remarks, once again I thank all the panelists here, particularly our Honorable Minister for chairing this, and I request the moderator to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sri E.V. Narasimha Reddy IAS, for setting the tone for this session. I now invite on stage Honorable Minister for Information Technology, Electronics and Communication Industries and Commerce and Legislative Affairs, Government of Telangana, ladies and gentlemen, Shri Sridhar Babu.
Mr. Narasimha Reddy on the dais, and nobody needs introduction of the great personality here, Sri Rajendraji, who is known as a waterman, and in fact who has been championing for the blue-green infrastructure to develop in India as also in the world. Along with us, the representatives from the World Bank and the eminent persons on the dais. We welcome you to this Telangana Rising Global Summit 2025, which should be, making a benchmark in the annals of this state. In the later evening, when we unveil the vision document of 2047, how Telangana would be, what steps Telangana would take, what we need to do as a policymaker, what other stakeholders has to contribute their might, their right, their energies to make this vision possible. In that sphere of things, we have come up to have an interaction with all the eminent leaders like you over here of the days, and also to have an interaction with all the stakeholders, how we should shape our state of Telangana and how we can request and appeal to the global partners who are keen in this blue-green infrastructure to be provided. On the context, I would like to mention why Hyderabad, why our Chief Minister and Mr. Revanth Reddy was all the time mentioning about this blue-green infrastructure. Many a time, most of the people who are also trying to understand about the Musi, or who are trying to understand about the lakes regeneration, or trying to do best how we can sail with the nature, not to disrupt the nature. The main our focus is how, every restored blue-green space. Primarily, this is a basic objective of our Chief Minister, Mr. Revanth Reddy, who is also holding the urban administration portfolio. Why we have given impetus for the blue-green space is it improves mobility, one, it helps in recreation, it helps in safety, and it also helps in the real estate confidence. So these are all makes us to become the growth drivers for our economic growth. And all put together, this will reinforce our climatic security. That's the most important thing what we just thought. And our vision for this Telangana, we have three models. Basically, this city of Hyderabad has a great perennial river, the Musi. It has been dried up. It is about 55-kilometer long green river which has been unnoticed. And our job and our chief minister's specific agenda is to regenerate the Musi river. How do we do it? How do we make it as a blue spine? That is one aspect. And the second is, how do you really regenerate the lakes? And third point is, how do we increase the green network in terms of the urban forests and creating the new parks? And when it comes to the Musi river, I would like to mention, when it was clean, when it should provide the irrigation water and also a source of the clean drinking water for many of the residents in Hyderabad. Now when the population increased, when the demands have increased, and how do we regenerate? One is the natural stream, which originates the river, and that is also been disrupted by the climatic conditions over there. How do we regenerate? So the immediate task what our Chief Minister has taken is to link up with the Godavari river waters. And how do we clean this river? To build STPs and trunk sewer infrastructure. How do we connect on either side of the river? Construction of the new bridges and creating pedestrian bridges, and also see that, the river flows by nature. It also helps in our flood mitigation. Many a time in 2021 and the recent past floods have also, we have seen in 2021 it was a big disaster. Many people lost their lives, their livelihoods, and also have seen the worst part of the floods. Keeping that in view, recently there were floods to that level, but the governance has taken as a keynote. We have put our administration on the foot all the time when a small drop of water, a small amount of rain happens that may culminate into heavy rain. Our municipal administration, the urban administration officials, along with the disaster response team, which has been specifically to counter the flood. And also, we have, educated, enlightened our civilians how best we shouldn't use the public transport or to go on the road during the times of the floods. So when Musi was pushed as an ignored periphery, now we are trying to build up as the nature's given property to be developed, and it has to act as a backbone. In terms of the flood safety, what we have right now is we have identified about 3,262 lakes have been identified. As rightly mentioned by Mr. Narasimha Reddy, we have the geographical limits. Now we are categorizing as cure, pure and rare, right? Core urban area and peripheral urban area and rural agrarian area where we will try to cluster them as our economies. In the outer ring road inside, we have identified about 476 lakes, and outside the outer ring road where many people would have traveled, we have 2,786 outside ORR. How we can regenerate these lakes? For that, an organization has been floated by name Hydra. Many of our real estate partners and well-wishers, have thought this could be not a nice idea, but now we have proven that this entity has identified many lakes which have been encroached or which have not been put to use, and we are building systematic channels for that lakes, and many lakes have been regenerated, and that has been appreciated by
here. The plans, considering the geographical, environmental as well as the socio-economic factors. So it's all the three pillars should be given equal consideration while preparing the plan. So a river basin approach, a watershed based approach should be done while carrying out the vulnerability and risk assessment, especially to the floods. That is something which is to be considered. So that is my suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that is a good suggestion. Basically, we have to look at the flood control and other things. Having said this, we have done extensive studies of flood considering last 100 years. But this is the question to Mr. Arjun and Mr. Siddharan also. Because you are an hydrology expert, and you have done hydrology studies and also hydraulic studies. We have extensively studied with the help of consultants and also the National Institute of Hydrology. Actually, this question also relates to what Dr. Srija was mentioning. So when it comes to the flooding and flood control measures, see, as Rajanji was mentioning, the river was free when we have not obstructed that. We cannot bring it back to that stage, but in the given situation, what are your ideas and what are your suggestions? How to make Musi as a free-flowing river again? Can you please elaborate on this?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. And first of all, I congratulate this government for coming up with such a courageous and such a beautiful idea of rejuvenating a river. I would like to add on to what Dr. Srija was saying about the risk-informed flood mitigation measures. And we all who all are sitting here, you have been witnessing the latest torrential rains. For example, in September 2025, you had a huge rain, and it almost flooded the entire city. That's one thing. It's not just one single event. Look at the 2000 August flood, where you had a recorded 124-hour rainfall of 250 millimeter in a day in Hyderabad. In IMD station, it was recorded. Go for 2016 flood, or 2013, 2023. Every year, this intensity of the rainfall is increasing. The duration is getting narrower. So probably the rainfall that is happening over a complete month is the same. Or probably the rainfall that is happening over a year can be the same. However, the torrential rain, the duration and frequency is been changing. That is what is happening in Hyderabad as we talk about the climatic change and things. Only out of these torrential rains which has actually flooded Hyderabad, only one flooding can be tied directly to a Bay of Bengal deep depression that occurred in 2016. So there are 3 points that is actually preparing, having giving constraints. One is exactly as she said, we have lost the river which was there. So the area, the water carrying capacity of the river has come down. Along with that, the duration of the rain has come down, but the amount of rain which is happening has been increased. The third one is a compound effect, where you have torrential rain, you have high water lines in dams, and you have high water in river. When in such a condition, you don't need a huge rainfall of around 240 mm per day. You need like 50 mm, 100 mm rain is enough when you have a higher water levels in Musi. That can create a havoc in the city. So what we usually do to address the flood, in engineers, I know that a lot of engineers are sitting here. We always go ahead and design for a particular return period. So then when people like ADB, people ask, like, you have to put in climate change into it, what is usually you do? You say, okay, you're designing for 10-year return period, go for 25-year return period. Simple. Or just add 10%, 20% addition to the existing IDF curves. Is it scientifically correct or statistically correct? No. It's just to add on to whatever the financial agency or whoever is financing, just have to impress them. You're just adding a kind of thing. So I would like to suggest something called, what do you call it? A statistically or probabilistic method to address this particular flooding event. How it's been done in other part of the world. See, now, as I said, you have a single 1 in 100 year or one particular return period. And what you say is you have 1 in 25 return period, wherever it's flooding, you don't make anything. 1 in 100 year return period, don't make anything. Instead of that, we have constraint of the space, we have constraint of the area. Why don't we think about something different, which is being practiced in elsewhere in the country? So see, we have a lot of numerical methods like probabilistic method of analyzing data, right? So right now, what we are doing is we are planning for using the yesteryear's climate. We are planning the future infrastructure using yesteryear climate. However, the climate is changing. You have torrential rains are changing. The amount of flood or the rain which is happening is changing. At the same time, the city is developing. Your nalas are coming narrower. Your rivers are coming narrower. So instead of going for a single value, go for say, a Monte Carlo approximation, so that you don't know what exactly is going to be. It can be a trend that the warmer temperature can be increasing the torrential rains. It might be bringing in more water. It can change the other way as well. We are not so sure. See, in 2024, we had a cyclone Asna. That cyclone originated in desert. Cyclones are not supposed to be originating in desert. In such an uncertain conditions, we should go for something like a probabilistic approach for having a range of values for projections, which will give you a realistic, more probably robust, probably practical, viable, economically viable solution to address the flood issues or inundation issues. And again, as I said, the compound effect of different parameters, a moderate rain plus a moderate water level in Musi can create havoc in the city because of the constraints. So whenever the green, blue infrastructure that is being proposed for the Musi, you should look into the issues that has been already prevailing in the city. A city especially was grown around Musi River. So this compound effects has to be studied, has to be hydrologically analyzed, has to be identified and come up with a protocol instead of just making embankments and then creating a 50-meter buffer. Use this probabilistic approach and you give weightage to the infrastructure, give weightage to the socio-political, economical, natural vulnerability, and then decide where to give green buffers or blue buffers instead of just making a buffer all around the city. You don't need that. You do have low-lying areas, use that as a buffer. Create a playground there, create a football ground there, have a flood, let it flood. It's not going to make a lot of environmental or economical impacts. Let it flood. Let that be a recharging thing. Just like a lake, if you're not able to connect the excess water that is coming in Musli River, connect it to a football ground, make a football ground or a park in a low-lying area where the probability of flooding can be less than or higher than 4%, like more than 25-year return period flood.
Yeah,
Use that
understood.
as a buffer.
Yeah. So, in order to mitigate the floods, try to understand the hydrology, the drainage pattern, and the drainage pattern particularly in the cities. It is nalas, address nalas, and how to take care of the low-lying areas you have been telling. That's actually exactly the part of our planning. So not only that, but how to treat the sewage that has been coming for so long. So that is also taken into consideration, and the plan includes. Coming to Ms. Alex, you have heard all other panelists. So with their experience and with your experience having worked in ADB for over 25 years, so how you define MUSI, and thanks that ADB is now also partnering with us, and you will be guiding us in making our DPR perfect and then getting into the execution. When it comes to the water management, flood management, the nature-based solutions, and also how to connect to the people, this is also very, very important. So what is your thought into that? And can you please give your thought?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, first of all, for inviting us to this panel. This is a great honor for us to be here. The Musi River is deeply embedded in the history and the identity of Hyderabad, as we could see during this fantastic movie that was shown at the beginning. So the Musi River has accompanied the city through decades of remarkable economic and spatial transformation. However, this comes with challenges that need to be addressed. Indeed, as the city has expanded, the river has gradually taken on multiple challenges, and we have extensively discussed about this, such as receiving wastewater, stormwater, solid waste also that is going into the river. All this is placing increasing pressure on its natural capacity to function as a healthy river system. Also, the development along the floodplains and evolving hydrological patterns, as we discussed also, have also altered the river's natural behavior, leading to higher flood risks in some areas. Water quality challenges affect environmental conditions and public health and well-being. These pressures are widely recognized, and most importantly, they point to a clear opportunity. With sustained investment and coordinated action, the river systems such as Musi River can be restored as a resilient and productive urban river. So in terms of opportunity, last June, ADB President, Mr. Masato Kanda, after meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, announced that ADB will invest up to $10 billion over the next 5 years to transform urban infrastructure and support India's growing cities under the Urban Challenge Fund, designed to catalyze innovative, performance-oriented, and private capital leveraging urban investment. These blue-green infrastructures that we are talking about today, such as proposed in the Musi River Rejuvenation Initiative, combining environmental restoration with economic productivity and high-quality public space, is exactly the type of transformative, result-driven project that the Urban Challenge Fund seeks to support. Blue-green transformation is most effective, as we discussed also, when it's planned through an integrated water resources management approach, which looks at the entire river basin as one interconnected system. And very important, and this relates to your question, at the center of this project are people and communities. Strong community consultation, participation, and local stewardship are essential for long-term sustainability. This means ensuring that communities along the river benefit directly from the improved environmental quality, safer public spaces, better access to services, and enhance economic opportunities. Riverfront development also opens pathway for new livelihoods and green jobs in waste management, for example, ecosystem restoration, riverfront development. Ecotourism is also an important part, urban agriculture, and the development of small enterprises. Another important aspect is women participation, youth engagement, and community-based monitoring that will be also important drivers for lasting successes. Now, coming back to ADB's international experience and what we bring actually as our international expertise, ADB and World Bank's 100 City program in India demonstrates how blue-green infrastructure can move from concept to city-wide systems, strengthening drainage, water supply, and urban resilience simultaneously. Another example outside India is that is particularly relevant for river rejuvenation and ecological restoration is the ADB's long-term engagement for integrated river basin management in China, in the Yangtze River Economic Belt and in the Yellow River Ecological Corridor. Just to give a quick word about the Yangtze River, you have Shanghai at the downstream of the river, and of course, all the development of Shanghai is taken into account, and there is everything that Shanghai can do to clean the river on its own territory. However, if it's not allied with complete integrated river basin management, it's a very difficult challenge. So this is what ADB has actually provided since 2014. ADB has supported around $3 billion in ecological restoration investment in these river basins, benefiting more than 70 million people. These projects integrate wastewater control, wetland restoration, green urban development, and also a concept that is called payment for ecosystem services, which provides sustained financial incentive for upstream watershed protection and ecological flow maintenance. Another example is in the Philippines, where ADB has its own headquarters. ADB is revitalizing the Pasig River that is passing through Manila with integrated policy, planning, digital technology, and cross-sectoral investments. So this is in support of the Pasig River Urban Development Authorities and in support of their priorities, which are the water system rehabilitation, transportation, recreation, mixed-use development, tourism, and sustainable human settlements. So to conclude, this Musi Riverfront Development Project has the potential to become one of India's most compelling examples of how cities can align economic dynamism with environmental restoration and social progress. This is not only about reviving a river, it's about shaping Hyderabad and more largely river cities' future around resilience, quality of life, and sustainability. And with the combined momentum of state leadership, national initiatives such as the Urban Challenge Fund, and long-term partnership with institutions such as ADB, the Musi River program can be structured as a scalable, financially sustainable, and climate-resilient investment platform that can serve as a national and regional model for blue-green urban transformation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Alex. As you said, Musi Rejuvenation is not a project. It is shaping of the Hyderabad ecosystem for better living standards, social aspects, and giving the blue and green environment to the citizens of Hyderabad. Very good thought into that. Last question to Rajendra ji. आपने बहुत सारे रिवर्स रिजुवेनेशन वहाँ पर राजस्थान में करे, अब आप इससे पहले आंध्र प्रदेश जब था आप एडवाइज़र भी थे अपने रिवर रिजुवेनेशन प्रोजेक्ट्स पे, मूसी पे, जब भी आपके जो भी थॉट प्रोसेस है वो आपने को बताया था. एंड नाउ कमिंग टू दिस पर्टिकुलर rejuvenation project taken up by Telangana government at this point in time. As everybody pointed out, we have considered every aspect, the hydrology, the floods, given shrinking of the river bed, some points in some areas, And we are trying to also give the hydraulics and the cross section so that the river should not be obstructed anyway. At the same point in time, we are also thinking, not only thinking, but we have mandated that 50 meters on each side of the river will be kept as buffer zone. We will not allow any kind of development in that. And after 50 to 100 meters, this is also again a restricted development area. So as per the CWC guidelines also, it is mandated that we have to look into the regulated development within 50 meters to 100 meters. That is also being taken care. As rightly pointed out by Alex, we have to win over the people also, who are the main stakeholders. And at the same time, what Tapas and others were mentioning about the economy to be thriving and not investing